Hello, gang. Welcome to the stream. This is the Adrel Show, of course, as always. So for today's stream, I thought we'd do something a little bit different. I know I've been doing a lot of Mr. Pandaria remix content, but we do have beta access, and so I did want to spend some time on the beta. I have spent a little bit of time on the beta messing around with the main professions I focus on generally, jewel crafting and enchanting. I've seen some creators already putting out some good content there, and I definitely want to spend more time on jewel crafting and enchanting. But I want to see where I'm able to add the most value and probably go a little bit deeper on that. So for today's stream, I thought we'd just tinker around a bit with the beta, go over some of the first impressions I've had so far, what I think about some of the changes, and explore the new like concentration system and the new NPC craft orders, some of the bigger changes that impact all of the professions. And then I wanted to spend a bit of time looking at tailoring. It's very much a first look. I haven't really been through it too much myself yet. One of the reasons I want to go through tailoring as well is because with the other professions, the input materials that you have are coming from gathering professions, right? I don't mine, I don't skin, I don't herbalize. I don't know if that's the correct word, but I don't really do gathering professions as such. I think the last time I had a character maxed out in the current gathering profession would have been other than mining, which I use for smelting generally, back when smelting was a thing, and I think I want to say during Legion, there was something I remember using my miner for. I don't remember exactly what, but something to do with the legendaries. So generally, even during the entirety of Dragonflight, I think the characters on which I have herbalism and mining, we gained some skill just because we were doing the weekly turn-in quests, but I haven't like actively leveled gathering professions in a while, so it would be a bit difficult for me to sort of guesstimate or work out what what sort of rarities and things each of those materials would be at, which means it may make it a bit more difficult to figure out what our most profitable items would be, or sort of that sort of thing. Whereas with tailoring, of course, we gather everything on regular characters, and the tailor itself is the gatherer, so we can sort of play around a bit with that. Um, all right, so with that said, let's get into it. So, um, the first thing I want to say, of course, is that I wanted us to look through just the warband loading screen, which I think is actually really cool. This is a feature that I was actually really excited for because, as someone who plays a lot of alts, has a lot of different profession alts and so forth, it can sometimes be a bit overwhelming just having that huge scrolling screen of all of the characters. So I do really like this interface that you can see multiple characters at once. I think we have 4 slots in the initial one, and I know that they've mentioned that this is the only warband loading screen that we're gonna have at launch. I think. Not sure if they've announced anything about that since then. At least I haven't seen anything. Um, and yeah, so you'll have 4 characters on here. I haven't really toyed around just yet to see if having another character here in Alliance, if we can sort of have different factions show up here. But we'll probably test that out with the next character we create. Um, and yeah, I think it's just pretty cool that you can have multiple characters showing up in the login screen. I do like that you can actually see the professions by just mousing over them. Um, Especially with the huge army of alts that I'm going to be that I've already been leveling through Miss Panera Remix, and the number of alts I have in general. I think that's going to be a really handy feature to not have to log on to each, because especially with the newer characters, I'm not going to be great at remembering which character has which profession. And that's definitely one of the things I want to figure out as well, is which professions benefit the most from having alts. Of course, alchemy is always the easiest, lowest hanging fruit for alts generally because of the transmute cooldowns. We'll see if tailoring has some of those as well, and also if there's any other professions that have cooldowns and so forth. Of course, in the war within, one of the things that is going to lead to alt armies being very powerful in any case is going to be the fact um, that you have the concentration mechanic, right? So each character is going to have a finite amount of concentration, which they can spend to max level items. And so that, of course, scales very, very well with alts because, at least on the beta, you have somewhere around 500 concentration per character. Of course, on the beta, we have items that just refill our concentration, but that basically gradually refills over time. And maybe we can talk a bit more about it inside the interface itself. That said, let's get to work creating a new character, and I am playing on the realm is literally called the These Go to 11 realm on the beta, but it's basically the realm on which your characters um, are level 80 from the jump. So I think what we're going to do is let's 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 do an earthen, since they are the new race, and I'm just gonna do a monk. We're not doing any sort of PvE or anything on these characters. All we're gonna do is oh, I need to change the body type here to body type 1. There we go. All we're going to be doing is toying around with the professions, learning our professions, and there's little there are vendors and NPCs right at the spawn point itself in Orgrimmar, in which we can sorry, why is it telling me that these names are available until I actually try and create it? Let's just add another. There we go. Okay. And one other thing I wanted to touch on was also on add-ons. So some of these add-ons are updated for the beta. Most of them aren't. That said, we'll go through and see which of them are actually of use and which ones are not. But alright, let's go ahead and enter the world. So essentially what I was saying was that on the beta you actually have NPCs and vendors that sell all of the materials, that sell even an item that maxes out your knowledge points. So we'll toy around with all that and try to see sort of what the different impact is. I think it'll probably require quite a bit of testing for each profession to figure out what sort of paths may be best to take at launch. I haven't really played around too much on the actual live servers to see, what levels are the breakpoints. So for instance, in Dragonflight, at level 60, you could already do a lot of the profession things, and there were only a couple things that were locked behind getting a character to max level. I'm not certain if we have skywriting on launch. I believe we do. Ooh, it looks like we got a new mount for unlocking the allied race. I'm guessing. Oh, that's interesting. Ooh, I do like this though. If you reach level 80 on 2 characters, you get 10% additional experience up to level 80, which is actually going to be super useful for all of our alts. I'm not certain how long it's going to. And it looks like once we get our 3rd character, it's a 15% additional. So they're definitely supporting having a lot of what do you call it? A lot of alts. I wonder if there's another achievement for getting 4 that gets us up to like 20 or something like that. But we're definitely going to be leveling a lot of alts in the War Within, given how many we've leveled through Miss Panera Remix. I really like this mount as well. I love the giant horns. I think it looks really, really cool. With that said, and of course we'll want to unlock this achievement as well, because this just unlocks all the flight paths for War Within on all of our characters. Since we're in the achievement interface, let's take a quick look and see if there's anything particularly special on the achievement front. It looks like the personal crafting orders remain. I somehow have not yet achieved either of these achievements on any of my characters in Dragonflight, which I thought I could avoid trying to actively farm, and we'd get there eventually. And I'm not even sure what the count is on my on retail for my characters on this, but I'm guessing once everything gets merged during the pre-patch, hopefully we do take it over this, because I do know that I have at least a couple hundred orders on some of my characters. On the achievements, it doesn't look like there's anything particular at the overall level. I think there's probably an achievement, of course, for maxing out Kaz Algar's skill here, as we see, and getting the Algari Master, but there doesn't seem to be a reward tied to this. I know in Dragonflight during the beta they had some achievements, and then that were going to give Artisan's Medal, and I think some knowledge points as well that they ended up removing. Um, but it doesn't look like they have any really professional achievements that are going to give any rewards here. And annoyingly, it doesn't seem like they've done much with archaeology in this expansion either. Hopefully that's still coming, because I actually really did enjoy um, archaeology, and I feel like it's always fun to have some less serious professions that you can just have fun tinkering around with and earning some cosmetics and that sort of thing. So, Journalator is updated. I don't think it's going to be of too much use to us because the auction house economics are not something we can take seriously. Each character on the beta, at least on this realm, starts with 10,000 gold. Maybe the leveling realm has a bit uh, more of an accurate auction house, and we can take a look at that. But again, it's beta, so I wouldn't take anything too seriously. Now, if we right-click this item, we should get some weapons, trinkets, and some more gold as well. Yes, that gives us 10,000 additional gold. I don't think any of these. Oh, my bad. Of course, like I always say, the second I say something on on beta on stream, it seems to turn out to be the opposite. So okay, none of these are really going to be of too much use to us. We'll go drop them off in the bank in a second. We may even test out a delve, to be honest. Um, but first things first, let's look through. This guy has, of course, our 5-piece set bonus. Again, we don't care too much about that. And then this guy has all of our trinkets. Now, this is the vendor at which we can start listing crafting orders. And so I think to start off with, let's just try and see. It looks like the only treaty showing up here for some reason is the Algari treatise on engineering. So we will be having these making a comeback. The treatises in Dragonflight were a huge moneymaker for Inscription, and I would say almost, it's at least in the early days, mandatory on all of the alts we're going to want to craft. You're going to want to have these crafted. For your scribe, you're definitely going to want to learn these recipes as soon as possible. When we take a look at Inscription, we'll see how we get those recipes. Hopefully it's somewhat easy like it was during Dragonflight to pick up these recipes. Interestingly, we only need one Shadow Ink, so I don't know if it doesn't look like there's qualities for these, which is good. We definitely don't want RNG or have to use up concentration. But if it's just taking one Shadow Ink, that should be fairly easy to get. Shadow Ink seems to be the green ink, but it doesn't look like these will be as valuable or as difficult or as painful to craft early on. The reason they were painful in Dragonflight was because we used the Artisan's Metal reagent, which was limited in how many you could get. I think if you were a gatherer, you could get a bit more per week. But definitely as crafters, it was a valuable resource and can still be monetized quite well even at this stage of the expansion. But so these we're going to want to craft on for each alt, each character, each profession. We're going to want to have one of these crafted per week. I believe it should be a weekly cooldown on this. Let's see if we can. I don't think it's going to let us actually create these until we learn our professions. But yep, there's just one for each profession. What it does is it gives you one knowledge point. I don't know what the limit is in the War Within for the weekly knowledge points. Like, I don't know how many you typically get. I know in Dragonflight it was around 15 a week, which for some of these professions that have hundreds of knowledge points that can be invested, it did take a while to max out. The other sources would be, your weekly quests, at least in Dragonflight, whereas your weekly quests, your first craft bonuses, your once I added Zarelak Cavern, there was some additional quests you could do there as well to get knowledge points, from what I recall, as well as what were the other the other sources were like the items that you looted all over the place. Um, and the last source was like train the there was generally a trainer somewhere in one of the zones for each profession that would give you five knowledge points for gathering, I think, and 10 for crafting, or I may have those backwards. And guys, please do excuse me because I know I'm gonna say I don't know a bunch during this stream, and it's genuinely just because it's the beta, and so everything's a bit up in the air. That said, let's go ahead and actually train tailoring on this character, and we can start looking at what the different things are. So castle guard training, tailoring rather, we're going to pick up, and you can learn it at level 68, it looks like. So we probably don't have to take these characters up to max level. Our alts can stay parked at level 70, and still we can just take them to the new zone, hopefully figure out where the first profession trainers are. If it's anything like Dragonflight, it was literally the second you hopped off the boat, and that means that we can just do that, get them over to, probably the main hub, and already start running crafting orders, and hopefully unlock the quests as well, and start gathering and start leveling up their skills, and hopefully start making some gold off of them, right from the jump. I will have to figure out how much of my time I'm going to dedicate to leveling my main to 80, and we'll see what the benefits of that are, and how long that takes, and whether that's going to be the best thing to do for gold right at launch, or if we want to just take all of our alts in. I think I'll probably do an even split where I'll probably spend a couple of hours leveling my main, gathering some materials. My main has jewel crafting and enchanting, so the main materials we'll be gathering on that character will be enchanting materials. We'll probably run all of the dungeons, and try and see how many enchanting materials we can get from that, from the quest screens that we get, and so forth as well. And then my main alt, I guess we can call it, has tailoring and leatherworking. Um, Gear crafting professions are always a favorite of mine. I think jewel crafting and enchanting, think about it this way: how often do you replace your gems or your enchants? Probably a lot more often than you replace an actual gear piece from either of these things. That's why consumables are so powerful, and why alchemy is generally such a good gold making profession. Um, but sorry, I the main character, my main alt has tailoring and leatherworking, and tailoring, of course, in and of itself is sort of a gathering profession, and we'll look through the different knowledge point investments we can make, and so forth. Um, but yeah, so of course our main craft here. Let's see what we learn just right out the jump. I do like this new panel as well. The new layout. It's a lot cleaner. You mouse over each thing, and it gives you a nice little description of what's going on. But you can actually see all of your skills a lot easier here. And ingest materials. Ooh. Okay, this is interesting. I guess we haven't looked at the racial benefits yet of the earthen. So let's just look at that real quick. Draw upon your inner strength, release to invoke the power of Azurite to harm your foes and aid your allies. Empowering has the following effects. So is this something that you click and actually that reminds me as well, on this character, let's always switch on auto loot, but let's switch on our additional action bars. Yeah, those are... Alright, those are the ones that we want. And let's just look through the bonuses. I know this is a bit of a tangent, but base armor increase, that's nice. Azurite Surge, I do want to see the animation for this, and I also want to see what it does, because it looks like it's got different ranks, 1, 2, and 3. I don't know how it selects which of those are. I was wondering if we'd get a little buff with the different things. 1, 2, and 3. What does that mean? How do we choose between these different ones? I feel like that could definitely be better explained. Hyper productive. Increased finesse. So this would be huge for gatherers. definitely we want to level some gatherers for this. Weapon skills we don't care too much about. 200% exploration experience. I mean, that's nice, but how much exploration achievement experience is anyone really getting? Um, I guess that, yeah, it's a cool feature, but doesn't do much of anything. I feel like you are always well fed, but cannot consume food. Activate ingest materials to consume a gem and change the benefit granted to you by well fed. So that's pretty cool. On one hand, it means that there's less demand for cooking, which is a good way of making a little bit of gold, right? It's definitely a high volume, low value source of gold making, but cooking can be incredibly powerful and definitely something I want to spend more time focusing on in the War Within. Hopefully, crafting times don't take as long, or at the very least, we may just have a second account on which we do all of our cooking while we're focused uh, on our main accounts and actively gold making there. For Dragonflight, I only had one account that had Dragonflight, and the other one just had a subscription, which is where we did all of our auctioning from. And so generally, I felt like it was more worth my time instead of craft. In the time that it would take me to craft 200 food items, I could have instead crafted 200 bags and probably made a little bit more gold. And so that's what I tended to do. But if we do decide to upgrade our second account to the War Within as well, then we may do that. But what's interesting here is this may mean that we have a little bit more demand for gems, which is nice for jewel crafting. And then yeah, the rest of these I think are fairly self-explanatory. I don't think we need to go through them. Um, and of course they've renamed dragon flying as skywriting, which is also nice. And actually a lot more of your mounts now, right on launch, will be enabled for skywriting. So as we can see, even basic mounts like the Black Drake, Proto Drakes, Hippogriffs, all sorts of different mounts are enabled, aside from the regular um, dragon flying mounts that we had. Um, and so then this, by the way, is the crafted mount that engineering crafts, and we picked it up on the auction house for like 1 gold because people are just throwing them up on the auction house, and we can take a quick ride on it, I suppose. But yeah, it's a pretty cool looking mount, I feel like. Um, and I think there should probably be a lot of demand. Hopefully they're not too expensive to make, and we can make some gold off of those as well. All right, that said, let's actually get into what we were planning on doing, which is, yeah, the hero talents look pretty cool as well. So, right as I say that, of course, I talk about something else. Have they moved it to a different interface? Yeah, okay, it's in K. All right, so let's pop that on our toolbar here, and let's look through. Ooh, you know what? We may actually or yeah, there we go. Explanations. Okay, so I'm just gonna minimize CraftSim for now. I don't think it's updated for this in any case. But so this is our main interface in the War Within. So first things we're gonna do is, it looks like the profession only comes with unraveling, but more importantly, this was what I was talking about when I said concentration. So, as you guys may know, they've supposedly removed inspiration. I'm not sure why we're seeing inspiration here. Maybe for things like unraveling, it's still here. I haven't seen it for any of the other professions. Um, Give me a second. Let me actually disable craft sim. I think that's probably what's messing us up here. Because I have a feeling craft sim is probably showing us the inspiration, even though it doesn't exist. And when I was toying around with jewel crafting and enchanting the other day, I didn't see inspiration on there, so not sure if it's an add-on issue that's causing that. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just going to see if there's any other profession add-ons that we can disable that may be showing that up for us, because I don't believe we have inspiration. It's not even I don't believe. I mean, they've sort of said that they don't. We're not going to have inspiration. So I did download a couple of new add-ons that I thought may be interesting. And that may be what's going on. Okay, it looks like we do have inspiration for some reason showing up. Maybe it's not an add-on option. Maybe it's not an add-on thing. In any case, concentration is the replacement for inspiration. And basically the way inspiration worked was you had inspiration, it gave you a percentage chance to get some bonus skill, which would hopefully, if it procced, get you to the next quality level. So what I mean by that is if you had enough skill to craft, you could guarantee a rank 1 in this case. But if you wanted to get a quality 2 craft, you would need to either increase your skill, and that skill would come from this base here, from just, the typical traits, the typical way you level up trade skills. By crafting things, you would unlock more skill and gradually get to 100. Of course, you could get a bonus skill from certain races, had bonuses to professions. So, for instance, Blood Elves got an extra 10 or 15. An extra 10, I believe it was, enchanting, and those could be pretty powerful. For instance, on jewel crafting, there were certain items where you could really only compete as a Draenei. So much so that I actually considered race changing my main over to a Draenei, but then deciding against it because for the Horde. But that said, of course, in the War Within, one of the things I want to do during Remix as well is level up some Alliance characters as well so that we can take advantage of those profession bonuses. But during the beta itself, I want to figure out which professions benefit the most from those, or which specific crafts benefit the most from those, so that, the second the War Within actually drops, we can pick up those professions on those characters and even focus their talent, their profession specialization specifically into those items that are going to benefit the most from it, and use that to make a boatload of gold. um, as always, the start of an expansion is the best time to make a whole bunch of gold, followed only, I would say, by patch patch drops. The end of expansion, like we're in with Dragonflight, is generally the slowest time for gold making. It's mainly because there's fewer players playing. There's less new content. Most of your competition is now caught up with you, and so there's not as many opportunities for gold. And honestly, in retail, I'm not even posting auctions right now. That's literally how little value I see being and investing time into gold making at this stage. Which is not to say there isn't a bunch of things you can still do to make gold. If you're just starting out, if you're just getting back into the game, or if you're trying to save up some gold for the War Within, there's definitely a lot that you can still be doing to make a good amount of gold. And if you guys are interested, let me know in chat, let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to cover that. We may cover some of that stuff as well on how to make gold, in this sort of lull period. I think we still have another 2 or 3 months. I think at least 2 months, given how much time they're saying Miss Panera Remix is still active for. I think we still have around 2 months until the next expansion, and that's still enough to make a couple million gold pretty easily. Um, if your goal is to make like tens of millions of gold, I think that may be a little bit tougher. Not to say it's impossible. There's definitely things that you can be doing, um, but I think it's definitely going to be a bit tougher. And I'm sitting at, I think, around 30 or 40 million gold on retail, so I'm not feeling as much of an urgency. That said, of course, you do want as large of a war chest as possible going into an expansion, because materials are super, super expensive at launch, right? It could cost us 100, 200, 300,000 gold to max out one profession. And that's just because of how much mats are going to cost, especially the rarer mats. That said, I'll continue talking about different thoughts about that. Let's come back to concentration. So in Dragonflight, we relied on inspiration procs a lot, and this was something that I'm not sure if some of the people who had beta access knew about and just didn't bother to mention to the rest of the community. But inspiration was insanely OP at launch, and so unless you knew that, you didn't know that you wanted to spec your talent trees into inspiration very heavily, because that was the best way to craft a bunch of highest quality items. In War Within, they've removed that and instead we have concentration. Now, concentration is capped at 500, and it basically uh, gradually fills back up. I don't know what the actual rate is over the while. In its place, the sort of RNG element you have is called ingenuity, and the way concentration works. Let's actually learn an actual craft here. So we'll just do the Weaver cloth bolt, which I guess is the main like reagent that we're going to be using, the main green reagent, and then there's also a blue one here, and we'll go ahead and train that as well. So first craft bonuses are still in the game here, and we will see what we get for doing those. But um, let's take this one as an example, right? We have one skill, the recipe difficulty requires 450. We have a bunch of different ways that we can bridge those gaps. So basically, if we had 450 skill, if we can bring our skill level to 450, we will guarantee a quality 3 item. If not, the bare minimum we're going to craft is a quality 1. And what we can do is we can invest 223 concentration. Of course, on live, we wouldn't want to do this because um, 223 is half of our concentration. There's almost certainly better ways that we can be spending it. But let's say, hypothetically, we wanted to invest 223 of the concentration that we have. That will guarantee us a quality 2 bolt. The other ways that we can get skill towards this. So one is leveling up your actual profession. The second is your profession accessories. The third is, like I said, any benefits that you get from your race. The fourth is going to be using higher quality materials, right? If you use a quality 1 reagent, you're not going to gain as much bonus skill from it as from a quality 3 reagent. Um, And then the other way you can get it is through your specializations here. Now, some professions also have, different things they can do to give them temporary buffs that give them skill levels, and we'll see if tailoring has any of those. But I believe I know for enchanting, I believe there's a new version. I'm not sure if there's one for jewel crafting as well. But those are the main ways you're going to gain skill, or rather gain, yeah, skill in your profession. Also by, like I said, you can also invest your knowledge points into specific talent trees that are going to give you specific skill in different elements of it. And generally in Dragonflight, at least every profession had one talent tree that you could invest in that would just give you overall skill in the profession as well. Um, but yeah, so that's how concentration works. It refills over time. And this is why having alts is going to be so powerful. Because if you've got just one character, you burn out the concentration that you have for that day, and then you're sort of at an impasse, right? You can't really do everything you need to. Whereas on, if you have an alt army, you can, have 5 tailors and finish all your crafts on one character, then move over to another character, and burn out all their concentration and keep doing that for all of your alts. All right, so with that said, give me a second, guys. I just need to take a quick little break, and once I'm back, we can take a quick look at uh, at tailoring in more depth. All right, and we're back. So, all right. So of course we have unraveling as we did in the other, as we did in Dragonflight. And then we have our standard bolts. Let's look through the other bolts we have as well. It looks like these are the cooldown bolts that we're going to be having, and it seems like there's two of them, similar to Dragonflight. Dawnweave and Duskweave are the two new ones. These, it looks like we get from specializing into the tree, similar to Dragonflight. And we unlock the talent trees at skill level 25, which we'll do here in a second. But I just want to go through and see what are the different crafts we have, what are the different things that we're going to want to unlock, and how we do that. Weaver cloth bandages here. I mean, we just get this at skill level 5. Bandages is not really something is not a market that I've engaged in too much during Dragonflight, but maybe there is some gold to be made here. And then we have our epic gear. And so these, of course, are where we're going to put in our spark, or rather, the customer puts in the spark. These will mainly be crafting order items. I'll be honest, crafting orders didn't make me a whole lot of gold. I didn't spend too much time engaging with this system, mainly because I think those of us who were familiar with professions in Dragonflight realized that it was sort of always a race to the bottom. It was always hard to find public crafting orders that made sense. You'd have to spam trade chat a whole bunch if you wanted to get um, if you wanted to get a bunch of crafting orders. And so it was a very direct translation of time into gold, which I don't like doing too much. I'm much more a fan of crafting a whole bunch of things, throwing them in the auction house, and making gold that way, because it's a lot more scalable. But it looks like these are the 3 items at least that we have for Dawnweave, and then these are the 3 items that we have for Duskweave. So gloves, boots, and bracers, and it looks like the same for Dawn and Duskweave. And I guess Dawnweave appears to be healing focused, whereas Duskweave would be more damage focused, I guess. And I guess you're actually going to, it looks like the benefit, at least on the bracers, is that it cooling sunset spell threads after the effects of woven Dawnweave to become woven Duskweave. I'm not sure what that means entirely, but it looks like the embellishments on these are probably going to be simmed out by people who are more competent at doing that sort of thing than I am. But I'm sure there will still be demand for those as well. Then it looks like we have just the standard garments as well. So this is the spark gear. And of course we'll have to unlock the embellishment slot, the secondary stats, what do you call them? The items that you use to garner secondary stats. I'm blanking on the name for right now, but those will be there. And then of course the power infusions. And then lastly, of course, as always, you have the finishing reagents. And since it doesn't look like we have an artisan's metal replacement, concentration will just be the main thing we put in there. Although I think this may be the artisan's authenticity is probably the scratch what I just said. The replacement for artisan's metal is called artisan's authenticity. I'm not sure how we acquire it and how rare it's going to be. I'm not sure if that's what we use for recrafts, but we'll figure that out together. Next we have actually the items that I'm super excited for, because these were great sellers for me during Dragonflight, and as they are during every expansion, right? This is the leveling, the blue leveling gear that you craft, and these are amazing because you can just craft a whole bunch of these and throw them up in the auction house and almost always make a profit on them. Even right now in Dragonflight, I'm sure you could probably turn a profit on these. If you're anything like me, I have a bunch of gold to spend that I am willing to spend on making leveling alts that much quicker, and these items are perfect for that, right? And the reason that I love tailoring and leatherworking is because tailoring, of course, you have all of your cloth gear here. Leatherworking is even more powerful because by leveling that one character's profession, and by leveling that character as in just leveling them, you are able to craft twice the amount of items because you're crafting both mail gear and leather gear. And so that's extremely powerful, right? For the War Within, what we may even do is we may have 2 leather workers, one focused on mail and unlocking the tree for that, and another for leather gear. But we'll take a look at that when we look through leatherworking in more depth, which we may do next. All right, but so this leveling gear should be super powerful. Doesn't look like it's going to be super expensive to craft, which bodes well for us because that probably means we can craft them pretty cheaply, and hopefully prices don't drop too quickly on these. Now, optional reagents, we have a Dawn Thread lining, which is going to give us additional crit above 80% health. That was probably going to be useful to quite a few people. And this one gives you additional versatility above 80% health. These should also sell pretty well. These are, again, going to be a higher volume business and probably lower margin. Finishing reagents, we've got a bright polishing cloth, which is just going to give us 2% more multi-craft on consumables. We have a embroidery thread, which is going to give us 5 more resourcefulness while crafting consumable items. We have a multi-craft embroidery thread as well that we can use, as well as a gritty polishing cloth, and I think that's actually for jewel crafting, right? These seem to be for multiple professions, whereas that one is specifically, well, or the bright polishing cloth is also for jewel crafting, my bad. On finishing reagents, these are, I always found it to be a really cool mechanic. The actual use cases that I found during Dragonflight weren't as many as I would have liked them to be. And in large part, that was because a lot of times these were not cheap enough to craft in order for them to add a lot of value. The resourcefulness ones seem to be the ones that were the most useful, though I am interested in seeing how multi-craft interacts with jewel crafting. If it gives us a 2% additional chance to multi-craft on gems, that could actually be quite lucrative. And so hopefully these two are of some usefulness in the War Within, and we use them a lot more than we did in Dragonflight. Next up we have the profession accessories. These can also be very powerful. I am not certain whether or not these are just placeholders for the beta. In Dragonflight, of course, we needed to use Artisan's Metal, and that was definitely a place in which a lot of the easy Artisan's Metal got used up, right? A lot of your first 3, 6, 900 metal went into crafting, you know, your 2 pieces of profession accessories and your profession tool. If we don't have them, am I happier? Yes, in some ways. Because I don't need to grind out a bunch of Artisan's authenticity to craft these for all of my alts. On the other hand, it also means that the barrier to entry is lower, so that does mean that we have more competition. That said, on the whole, I'm not going to be too upset if this blue gear doesn't get nerfed, buffed. I guess it depends which way you're looking at it. But we'll definitely want to get these items as soon as possible because these, as I mentioned, give us additional tailoring skill or additional skill in each of the professions. And the interaction between these is also kind of interesting because, for instance, usually these are a great source of later game knowledge points. In some of the professions, you could more or less really only max out your skill by crafting these. Now, early on, that means we're probably going to have to engage with the crafting order system to pick up as many of these and craft as many of these as we can for other people with their mats. But they're also going to get sniped super, super quick, so it may take us a little while to max out skill using these. And I'm sure closer to launch we'll also have a bit of an indication of which professions craft the profession accessories and profession gear for which other professions. But in this case, it looks like tailors are gonna craft their own coats, which is nice. They're going to be crafting robes for alchemists, chef's hats, enchanter's hats, fishing, and then herbalism items, which should be good too. It doesn't look like we have an epic tailoring item as we did in Dragonflight. But in Dragonflight we had an epic item that gave you even more skill than the blue one. And so generally that was, it made more sense to just hold that and use up your Artisan's Metal, or in this case, Artisan's authenticity for that, and maybe they're still going to add something like that. It does sort of make sense that the tailors would be able to craft a more epic item for their own profession than they would for others. So I did feel that that worked kind of nice. Hopefully they add that in. Then of course we have these green items. So these are bind on pickup, the blue items, and so they you do have to get them through the crafting order system, which can be a little bit annoying sometimes, especially early on when people want huge tips if you don't have that profession unlocked. Of course, for us, we're going to try and unlock all the professions. Um, and actually, I just realized we forgot to look at what the sources of each of these are. I think we looked at the sources for these, which we saw were from the tree. These should also be from the tree. I don't think any of these um, from the Dawnweave tree and from the Duskweave tree, respectively. These ones as well, you generally, it looks like they're doing the same thing as in Dragonflight, where you just specialize into a specific type of gear and then a specific piece of gear to unlock the recipe for it. These ones we just pick up the trainer, which is also why they're so powerful for gold making early on, right? There's no real barrier to entry on these, other than investing enough in mats to level up your skill. For the linings, it looks like they haven't, at least on Dawn Thread lining, it looks like they're not telling us what the recipe source is. Dust Thread lining is a drop from a dungeon and also BOE. So it should be interesting to see if this drops for non-tailors, if it only drops for tailors, and if it only drops for tailors, I'm sure these would probably go for a pretty penny early on in the expansion, and that maybe some additional gold we can get on the way if this continues to drop for tailors after they've learned the pattern as well. All right, coming over to the polishing cloths, this looks like we pick up we pick up the jewel crafting ones just from the trainer, whereas these ones it looks like comes from a specialization. And of course we'll have to see what the economics of those look like and whether it makes sense for us to spec into those. Now this is interesting. So it looks like we don't know where we get the artisan's tailor coat from, but the alchemist robe, it comes from Sarla in the City of Threads, and it looks like there's two different currencies we need to unlock those. I'm not sure what those currencies are. Let's see if our we don't even have a currency panel here, so we can't even see if it shows up there. But that's kind of interesting. Hopefully these aren't as difficult to get as they were in Dragonflight. During Dragonflight, you had to grind out just crazy amounts of rep, which I never ended up doing, at least early on. Now that my characters are a little bit higher level and I've had some more goes of the um, more goes on what do you call it on the weekly quests and the weekly activities you can do to unlock reputation. We've started maxing out some of those reputations. But the other nice thing will be the warband reputations. That is also going to be a massive game changer for alt armies, right? In Dragonflight, if you wanted to unlock different professions, of course, you would get a 10%, you would get a 100% bonus once you got one of your characters, probably your main, to 10 renown, and then a 200% buff, I think it was, once you got to 20 renown, which was nice and sped things up a bit. But getting to 10 renown itself was sometimes a little bit of a pain in the butt. Having them warband wide will be amazing for that because I can just level them up on my main and then get the benefits on all my alts and so I'm really really excited about that as well because it just means a lot less grinding on alts and a lot more time doing things that are actually fun for me at least. All right, this looks like it's a drop from a zone. I think that's one of the dungeons, actually, Cinder Brumattery, which is nice. I do like that they actually require us to go out into the world to gather things and not just be camped at the trade skill, profession masters. All right, the enchanting one, it looks like it's a currency, but less of a currency, less, or at least one less currency than we needed for the alchemist's robe, which is nice. Um, Same thing goes for the fishing. So hopefully these we can unlock earlier on. Ooh, and this one's also just unlocked through that. These ones, I believe we pick up all these green recipes from the from the trainer itself, unless I'm mistaken. All right, spell threads. We don't know the source of this one. I tend to feel that these are probably placeholders. I don't think tailoring has actually been worked on as much as I thought. I'm just noticing. It looks like they've just sort of put in placeholders and they haven't really figured out what they want these items to cost to craft. But I think it's still worth us going through and seeing items there are, and you know what the different crafts we can make are. So yep, we've got the spell thread, the epic spell thread. We don't know what the mats are. I think probably for the rest of the stream we can sort of ignore what the actual crafting mats are because it looks like they're just set to the default for everything. The second epic thread, spell thread, we don't know where that's coming from either. But 605 recipe difficulty, so these will be pretty hard to make. I don't know if we've seen anything else with skill levels that high. I'm curious to see if, okay, 615 for these items. So I think these will be the toughest ones, and these probably will, you probably will want to use, you probably will want to have people tip you pretty heftily um, in order to get to the maximum skill for these, especially since concentration is even more limited in some ways than Artisan's Metal was. And especially since you can't really rely on inspiration to proc a higher amount. Um, then we have the blue spell thread, which we just unlocked by the talent tree. Lastly, we have embroidered bags. So this is the one of the cooler features of tailoring in the War Within is you're actually going to have bags that give you benefits to your professions, and this I'm really excited about. I love that they're BOE. We can sell them in the auction house, which is really nice. But I think it adds a lot of flavor. I do kind of wish that we would. Well, I'm not sure if these are just bags. I'm not sure if these are profession bags in the way that we've known them in the past in World of Warcraft, where they can only hold reagents for that specific profession. Hopefully not, because inventory management has just become a bigger and bigger part of this game as the years have gone on. But even if it does, look, you probably are going to have a lot of mats for that profession on that character. It does feel like it takes away a little bit of player agency when they, when you have a bag in which you can't put any other items. But that said, these are 38 slot bags, and I think the largest we would have right now would be about 34 slot bags. But probably coming in from Dragonflight, it really depends whether or not you unlock those 34 slot bags, or if you just did, if you're like me and you still have 32 slot bags on all of your characters. And that's definitely one of the things we want to keep in mind during Miss Pandaria time running as well, is all those characters start off with 34 slot bags. You want to actually also hit the NPC and pick up the 34 slot bags for, I think they're 10 bronze a piece, and fill out your characters' banks with those as well. And that's something I need to go ahead and do on actually all of my alts. I may do a little short video on that as well. But yeah, so we have, this is the alchemy one, and it gives you an additional 1% chance to discover new recipes when experimenting, which can be huge for alchemy. Alchemy experimentation was extremely costly in Dragonflight, and we'll probably take a bigger look at it when we look at alchemy. But it's a pretty powerful increase. I mean, 1% isn't going to make a huge difference, but it's still enough that you would definitely want this item as long as the crafting cost isn't too high. Ooh, it does look like it is costly to pick up the recipe though. I'm not really sure what these currencies are, but 150 and a 1500 seems like it could be pretty steep. And so we'll probably have to pick, which ones of these we want to learn first. The inscription one gives you a 5% chance to create another Darkmoon card. Very powerful, especially early on in any expansion. Mining, the cooldown of overload empowered deposit is reduced by an additional 1%. That doesn't sound super high, to be honest. Even this 1% doesn't sound super high. 5%, I mean, is nice, but it's not super powerful. Hopefully they're still tuning these, and the actual live versions are higher. I do like that these are 38 slot bags though. So you get another additional 4 slots, and of course there's a limit of having 2 of these equipped, which makes sense, right? You have 2 professions, you can unlock 2 of them. I like it when they do things like that, and don't sort of. I do also like that concentration this time is split between your 2 professions. One of the annoying things in Dragonflight was that you just had Artisan's Metal. You didn't have like Tailoring Artisan's Metal versus Leatherworkers Artisan's Metal, which meant a lot of times it really depended on which profession you were sort of somewhat prioritizing on each character to determine where you would use up your Artisan's Metal. In the example of my tailor and leather worker, right? If I'm spending more Artisan's Metal unlocking certain things or on tailoring, then didn't have that artisan's metal available to me to use um, on my leatherworking, right? Which didn't feel great. So I'm glad that they are um, being mindful of the fact that everyone has two professions, and I ideally want to prioritize both of them equally, and they allow us to do that this time around. Okay, then moving along, we have the blacksmithing one. Everburning in ignition grants an additional 10 ingenuity. So I don't think we actually covered ingenuity, but let's cover that and then come back to this bag. So ingenuity is sort of the RNG replacement for inspiration, where the higher your ingenuity percentage is, the more likely you are to have your concentration refunded. Now that would be amazing, because basically what that means is you don't end up using the concentration that you would need, which could be really, really powerful, right? And that's definitely going to be a stat that everyone's going to want to stack a lot. Um, I think probably in order of priority, it's still going to be a case where multi-craft is wherever you have multi-craft, and you have professions that are able to benefit from multi-craft. You want to stack as much multi-craft as you can, because multi-craft, just as a brief reminder, just means that you have a chance of crafting a bunch of additional items whenever you craft one. So that's always super powerful. Um, Second, it will probably be a toss-up between ingenuity and resourcefulness. I'm guessing ingenuity would be the one that we want, because um, concentration is going to be an extremely valuable reagent, and an extremely limited one. Whereas resourcefulness is always good to make, to sweeten the deal a little bit, is the way I see resourcefulness. Is you save a couple gold, you save a couple silver, maybe even later on in the game. But early on, it can be super, super powerful, because if you have any of your reagents refunded to you, that's less that you need to invest in buying overpriced reagents at launch. Um, but yeah, I think that's probably in third place, realistically speaking. I'll put it this way. Generally, through Dragonflight, I found resourcefulness was not enough necessarily for most recipes to make an unprofitable craft profitable, but it would sweeten the deal a bit, right? So instead of 100 gold profit per item, you're making 110 gold profit per item, which at an individual item doesn't make a huge difference. But if you're crafting 1,000 of those items, that's uh, an extra 1,000, 10,000 gold that you've added on. But okay, it looks like the ignition satchel gives blacksmiths bonus ingenuity, resourcefulness, and multi-craft. So everything we want. This is actually the most. I think this may be the most powerful buff that we've seen so far on any of these, on any of these crafts. Although I'm not sure what ever-burning ignition itself is, so we'll have to see that. Jewel crafting increases the maximum yield of crushed gemstones from Algari crushing by 1. That could be interesting. Um, that sounds pretty powerful, but again, I think we'd probably need to actually toy around with it to see what that actually ends up looking like. Coming to the enchanting one, increases the amount of resourcefulness, ingenuity, and multicraft provided by Shatter Essence by 1. So Shatter Essence is one of those buffs that I was talking about. In Dragonflight, we had one where you could basically shatter an awakened, and that would give you, I think it was around 25 bonus skill. Whereas in 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 the War Within, they've removed awakens, which I'm extremely excited about, because a lot of times, a lot of professions, it was less about actually how cheaply you could get your mats, or anything else to do with the actual profession. It was just a matter of how cheaply you could get your awakens to figure out if you were profitable or not, which didn't feel great, right? Yeah, it's I don't know what. I don't know if there's much more to say about that. All right, coming over to what profession is this for? Prodigy's Toolbox. I'm guessing this is engineering. Okay, yeah, it requires Kaz Algar engineering. Increases the yield of Algari scrap from most sources by 1. That should be pretty cool as well, to be honest. Scrapping was an interesting mechanism in engineering and Dragonflight, but there were definitely some crazy toys and things that you could only get from scrapping. One of which I sold for like 200,000 gold. I remember early on, which was really, really nice, because scrapping didn't really cost much of anything. It was just sort of, I used the tinker on my engineer's helm, and I got a toy that was worth 200,000 gold, right? That's sort of the craziness of engineering. Um, but that should be pretty powerful. Severed Satchel for tailoring increases the yield of Kazalgar unraveling by 1. Now, unraveling is a part of tailoring that I didn't really mess around too much with in Dragonflight, although I know a lot of people made a lot of small passive gold through it. So it that may be more powerful than I'm giving it credit for, but I'm just really not sure, and we'll see. Then, of course, we have our standard 38 slot reagent bag. This will be applied for everyone. Everyone's going to want to grab one of these. They added that reagent bag tab. That should be pretty useful. I do want to see what the source of this is. Okay, so this comes through the specialization as well. This we'll want to unlock um, as well pretty early on. It may even be a case where I literally dedicate one tailor to Dawnweave, one tailor to Duskweave, and if alts allow, I may have a gear crafting tailor, and then also we'll have to see if the profession gear falls under any of the same talent trees as the gear. Um, but I'm actually really excited to be able to optimize all of this um, before we have the War Within going live, and it also does mean that we're gonna have to level a bunch more alts. But honestly, with it taking about 3 or 4 hours to level 2 sets of alts, I'm not too upset about that. And sorry guys, give me 1 second. I'm gonna be right back. All right, sorry about that, gang. We're back. We have a protein shake ready to go, and we can get back to looking at tailoring. But okay, so like I was saying, look, we can look at the alts later, and I'm probably going to do a video on what my plan is on exactly how many alts I plan on having, and we'll probably already start training at least basic tailoring or basic professions on each of those alts, so that we're locked and loaded, ready to go for the War Within launch. So this should be a pretty interesting item. Gardener's Seed Satchel, the cooldown of Overload Empowered Herb is reduced by an additional 1% when gathering herbs in Kaz Algar. That should be interesting for herbalists, herbalizers, as it were. The cooldown of Sharpen Your Knife is reduced by 3% for skinning. Should be interesting as well. And we don't have sources for some of these. Though it looks like, I think this will probably be the same. It looks like the sources may be similar for all of them. But I guess we'll see as we go. Hide Shaper's work bag. So this is the leatherworking one. Increases your multi-craft rating by 10 when crafting thunderous drums. That could be really powerful. Drums do sell really well, and there usually is a decent bit of gold to be made on these, especially on raid nights and on reset nights. But it does seem a bit limiting that all the other professions get something that benefit all of their crafts, whereas leatherworking really only gets a benefit to one consumable. Hopefully they rework that a bit, or at least expand the multi-craft to some other items as well. Maybe armor kits could be cool as well. Would love to see that. All right, then we have the 40 slot reagent bag. This is the larger one. I'm a bit surprised that the Duskweave bag is a 38 slot reagent bag in blue, and the Dawnweave reagent bag is also blue and 40 slots. I don't know if the mats they plan on having the mats be a lot different, and maybe that's what's going on there. Um, and it seems like you actually learn this one first, so I think this is probably something that gets fixed. I'm guessing maybe this isn't supposed to be well, no, because we do have a regular bag later on. In any case, let's come down. We have a 36 slot reagent bag. This is the green one. That sort of makes sense. I think this one's probably supposed to be epic, and it's just not. Of course, we can't even look at the mats to really get a good sense because these seem to all be placeholders. All right, then we have the green 36 slot reagent bag. I think currently we have 34 or 32 slot reagent bags. And then, of course, we have our base green bag, which these will be selling a lot of. Definitely these two. Um, And this is just what everyone's gonna, pick up right at launch probably, or anyone who didn't pick it up for their alts during Dragonflight. And lastly, we have a bunch of gear that I have been super excited about. Although I think I was a bit misinformed because my understanding was that this was moving into the crafting order system, but I see that these are BOE, which I'm really happy about. So these were a tremendous gold maker for me. I have individual items, and especially for tailoring. This cloak on retail, I think I made about 2 or 3 million gold in profit from, right? Um, Usually the source for these is that um, you get them in the little PvP bags at the end, or I guess you can farm out honor this time, it looks like. But the main source for me was picking them up on the auction house. And these recipes would be pretty expensive. I've paid 50,000, 100,000, I think as high as 200,000 gold for some of these recipes. Um, but very, very quickly made these back. They're generally a great choice for alts once they hit 80 for PvE, just because it's a full set of, 545 in this case gear that you can pick up right on. Right as you hit 80 and just right off the auction house. And so these have sold individual pieces for as high as like 10,000. And then gradually, as the season goes on and as more people enter the market, there's a lot of competition. The prices do tend to come down, especially at least on higher pop servers. But one of the things I want to one of my little secrets that why not I'll share with you guys is that a great way of dealing with this is if you have a second account is using the cross realm trading to figure out what server you can buy the recipe on for the cheapest and to figure out what servers you can sell them on for the highest amount at. And it's something that I toyed around a bit with during Dragonflight, but is definitely something I want to spend a bit more time on in the War Within, and I think can also lead to just huge amounts of gold. Um, but so I'm excited to see that there's still BOE. Of course, these look like complete placeholders, but these are very, very powerful for gold making. I think what's changed is that now, instead of um, instead of them just being at eye level 4 545, we have the option that people can add items that they get from PvP to um, to directly upgrade these items, and so they're on the same upgrade track, and they can even have these recrafted, which is actually really powerful because that means anyone who's PvPing is going to want to pick up this set and then upgrade it as they go. Whereas previously, I think some people probably thought, I don't need to pick up a full green set. I can save that gold and just, start farming PvP and pick up that gear. Then it gives them that much more incentive. So hopefully the market for this should be even bigger. And so it looks like those are all of the crafts that we have in so far. I think tailoring is looking a bit incomplete, in all honesty. I don't see any toys. I don't see too much fun stuff, and all of the crafting materials seem to be placeholders. So maybe this wasn't the best profession to start off looking at. But that said, I think there's still a lot of cool stuff, and we got to see what things are going to be crafted and sort of got an idea of how much in demand they would be. That said, let's go ahead and level up tailoring, and um, while we're doing that, we can also look at the talent tree for tailoring, at least at its current state in beta. So let's pick up a reagent bag since we don't have one, and I'm actually just gonna go and dump all of all of these items into our bank just real quick, just so that we can have a better understanding of what the materials are going to look like. And I haven't actually tested out the bank yet. I want to see what the warband bank looks like. So let's take a quick look at that as well. It looks like in the banking interface, in addition to your regular bank and the reagent bank that we should probably have, you now have this nice little warband bank tab. And let's go ahead and purchase that. I think the first slot is 1,000, and I think each additional slot gets increasingly expensive. You get a nice little achievement for this. But the warband bank, of course, will be available to all of our alts, and so I think those are the only things that we can dump in there. And then in our regular bank, let's just go ahead and dump all of the place test equipment, we probably don't need our Hearthstone as well. And so we have nice clean bags to look through this. It looks like these will be pretty pricey. I think at the later stages, once we get to like 6 slots, it actually ends up being like a couple million gold, which is steep. And again, that's why I was saying, right now in Dragonflight, if you're not sitting on a war chest of a couple million gold, it's probably not the worst idea to start to start grinding to start trying to make a little bit more gold, just so that you have you know if you're not enjoying remix, if you've unlocked everything that you want from remix, it's probably not the worst idea to grind some gold. And if you guys want some guides on how to do that, let me know. All right, so we got our reagent bag. We'll pick up this. We will pick up this as well. We can't use it just yet. These are 2 items that are only available on the beta. This one's just going to give us full concentration, so we can play around with concentration a bit. And then this one's just going to max out our spec points, so that we can tinker around with the trees. We have this item that's just going to give us some general goods. I don't think we need to dink around with the optional reagents just yet. Or you know what? Let's pick it up as well, and we can toy around with some of those. Let's pick up then the tailoring goods bag. All right, and these are again just beta items, but they will give us all the reagents we need so that we don't need to go out and farm them. So let's start off with the tailoring bag, and it looks like we have shredded weaver cloth is the first item. Or let's start in order of let's do them in order of rarity. We have spool of weaver thread, we have shredded weaver cloth, we have weaver cloth bolts. So these are a crafted item, of course. So I believe this is what we would loot. This is what we'd loot some of the time. And then this is what we would craft, the weaver cloth bolts. We have spool of dawn thread and spool of dusk thread. Now I'm not sure if those drop or if those are going to be something that we craft. I believe it seems like it would be something that drops, because I don't see a recipe for them. But again, given how basic tailoring is looking right now, it probably is just not something that they've implemented yet. So these are the 2 spools that we have. I think unraveling is we don't seem to have looted any of these items. I think that may be in the general one. Dawn weave bolt, of course, and duskweave bolts are the items that we're going to craft from here. With a cooldown, we can only do 10 of these each per day. And if it works anything like Dragonflight, we would be able to, by specing into that specific tree, max this out at one point. So as of now, it's looking like we're probably going to have 4 tailors, one that specializes in dawnweave, one that specializes in duskweave, one that specializes in bags, and one that specializes in gear, which means we still need to level a bunch more alts to really have a complete alt army. All right, that said, let's also open our Kazalgar bag of general goods. Did we pick out the optional goods one? Yeah, we did. All right, these are our fractured sparks that we don't care about too much. Writhing sample, not sure what this is. I think this is just another reagent that we're gonna have that doesn't impact tailoring too much. Let's see if we have anything relevant to tailoring, because okay, we picked up the Artisan's Acuity. Like we said, this is going to be the replacement for Artisan's Metal. Vial of Oils, Leyline Residue, Crystalline Powder, Hides. We may need some of those. Spool of Weaver Weave Thread. So let's start off. We don't get a first craft bonus for doing this. Interestingly, we don't. They don't give us anything that we can unravel, so we can't really dink around with unraveling too much. But honestly, it wouldn't be super relevant data for us in any case, given how early things are. Let's just try and level up our tailoring here, and we'll do each of these for our first craft bonus. So let's do one regular weaver cloth bolt, and of course, because we don't have much skill in the profession, we're getting bonus skill because we're using all quality 3 mats, because that's what that little item gave us. But in reality, we probably wouldn't have as much skill. That said, we still don't have enough skill to max this out. To show you what I was talking about with concentration, let's use concentration here. In live, you probably wouldn't actually want to do this. We got our first craft bonus, and it seems like similar to previous to Dragonflight, you get a skill point, of course, from the item if you're eligible for it. But the other bonuses we got, since you guys can't see chat, is we got 1 Artisan's Acuity. Hopefully they buff that rate, and we get more Artisan's Acuity, or maybe Artisan's Acuity is just less valuable than Artisan's Metal was. And we get 1 Kaz Algar Tailoring Knowledge. And we can mouse over here to see how many we have until we unlock that tree. Let's do the first craft for this as well. Or rather, first let's test out concentration. So if we click concentration, we're going to apply our concentration. We're going to use up 41 concentration, and we'll see it get taken out of here to guarantee a rank 2, right? And because we got an additional skill, it looks like we all actually got 2 skill points somehow off of that. Yeah, we got 2 skill points for some reason off of that. Maybe because we used of concentration. We now only need 39 for it. So let's cancel that, and let's do the first craft bonus for this as well. All right, and we got the same rewards. We got 1 Artisan's Acuity and 1 Tailoring Knowledge. And all right, we've reached 5 skill points in Tailoring. I think that unlocks some additional recipes for us. So we got the blue, we've gotten the blue Pioneer's Cloth cuffs, the Pioneer's Cloth slippers, and the Weaver Cloth bandage. So let's go ahead and do the first craft bonus for each of those. Craft 1 of these, we'll craft 1 of these, and we'll craft 1 of these. And we're probably gonna come back on here, and or we may pick up enchanting on this character just to see what the drop rates and sort of what the different enchanting trees sort of give us for this. All right, let's craft 1 more of each of these. And you know what? Okay, forget it. I was gonna say we could maybe use up concentration. So as we can see, pretty quickly we get to the point that we can barely need any concentration to hit level 3 on these. But that's also because of the fact that unrealistically we have quality 3 Weaver Cloth bolts. Let's actually just create as many as we can and see how far that gets us in terms of skill points. If we can just unlock the if we can go ahead and unlock the talent tree just from crafting Weaver Cloth bolts. Okay, at 20 skill we unlocked recrafting equipment. And I think we'll just ride this out till 25 since it is still giving us skill. And then we'll learn each of these and do each of them for the knowledge point bonuses. Although it doesn't really matter too much because we can already gain 1,000 special point. We can already gain 1,000 specialization points just by using this item on beta. But I want to see how many skill points we can get just through leveling up, tailoring, and investing. Really, only in cloth. So let's do the first craft bonuses that we have. So we have a first craft bonus for this. And actually, we probably want to start at the bottom and work our way up so that this stays yellow, where we get more skill points in. I'll cover on a different video how I recommend leveling up professions. There is a way to do it to maximize the amount of gold you're making while leveling up the profession, especially early on. That's the other reason that it can sometimes be beneficial to level up your professions on all of your alts early on in the expansion if your budget allows for it, because you can generally turn a little bit of a profit early on, but it does require having a fairly hefty war chest. All right, let's do 5 more of these to unlock this. I want to just quickly go through, and I think let's see how far we can push our tailoring skill with just trainer recipes before we get into the specialization tree. All right, so we're at 35. We unlocked the polishing cloths as well as some of the Well, we unlocked bags, which is big, and we unlocked also some of this the profession gear, which is also useful. Ooh, we didn't see this item. Algary Weaver line. Spin the thread into your fishing pole, granting the following aura. The seeker thread and angler thread you find across Kazalgar will permanently increase the power of your fishing pole up to 100. Ooh, that's an interesting mechanism. I think this is definitely going to be something that all fishers are going to want. All right, let's again do our first craft bonuses. Um, we have the Weaver Cloth bag. This will be a huge profit generator for us through the expansion. I think we already have those, or no, that's not what we have equipped. But let's take the first craft bonus for each of these, because this is very similar to what we're going to want to do on live. Is definitely take the first craft bonus for each of these to get those knowledge points. Even if we're crafting them unprofitably, we're going to want to do this just for the knowledge points, because knowledge points are just that powerful early on. And so the more knowledge points we can push early on, it gets us that much further ahead of the curve, you know. Again, it's not going to be a super accurate estimate because it does seem like tailoring isn't fully fleshed out yet. But all the same, let's see how we're doing. All right, we're just doing each of these once. And let's see if did we unlock, have we crafted the tailoring item yet? Not yet. I think that's the one we're actually going to be doing last, funnily enough. And that's going to give us plus multi-craft and plus ingenuity, which should be interesting, because I do want to see how well. Yep, let's go ahead and equip that. And as we can see, we got 5 bonus skill from the item, but we also got some multi-craft and ingenuity. So it looks like ingenuity functions similar to the other skills, in which 30 ingenuity gives us about 3%. So yeah, 3% of the time that we're using up concentration, we're actually going to get it refunded. All right, so we've done all of our first craft bonuses, and we're at 42 skill, and all these items are sort of greened out for us already, which is not great. Let's craft a whole bunch of these and see what skill level we can get to with just the trainer recipes, because that's going to be the most realistic thing because these are going to be the ones that our alts are going to be able to pick up super easily, right? Without having to leave the trainer at all. And so realistically, that's going to be what we're going to unlock first, probably on day 1 itself, or day 1 of unlocking professions is when we're going to want to do this on all of these characters to have their skill level as high as possible just from the trainer itself, assuming we can get mats cheap enough. And there as well, I'll probably have to figure out some sort of a prioritization framework for which tailor we're gonna level up first, because we're gonna be limited both in time as well as probably in cheap mats that we can get. So let's see. It seems like these are holding up at green until level 45, after which exquisite weaver cloth bolts are still green. So let's see if we can push to 50, because I think that should allow us to unlock 2 of the talent trees. And while we're waiting, I think it should keep crafting. Interesting things to note here. So the public work orders doesn't look like there's anything up right now. It doesn't look like they've increased the cap either. It is still 4 that we're limited to. Actually just realized that my camera's been switched off this entire time, so let's switch that back on. Apologies for that. Hopefully it didn't disturb your viewing experience all too much. Now the interesting new addition is of course this NPC tab. And supposedly NPCs will be placing crafting orders. I have tested it out a couple of days. I've yet to see a single NPC crafting order put up. It does seem to me that if they put these up as if NPC orders count as public orders, you're probably never going to actually get to do any of these, which is not great, right? I feel like these should be restricted to characters. NPC orders, I feel, should be character specific, just so that, you know, every character feels like they can do some crafting orders and engage with the system in some way. and not just have to be the first one online or the first one to snag the NPC orders the way it goes with public orders. And then lastly, of course, we have the personal orders here as well. All right, and I think that it looks like we can get to 50 and at least get half of our skill points directly from that. While we're at it, let's list crafting orders for our tailoring stuff and see if anyone online is going to be nice enough to craft those for us. So we need the Algory crafting order. I don't think it matters too much, but does anyone have an active order for it? Nope. Let's create this as a public order and let's just go ahead and list that and see if someone crafts that for us. The other things we need to gather is our profession equipment for tailoring. So let's do a quick search on that and let's filter on current expansion only. I really like that they've added this. I believe they've added it to the auction house as well. It's super, super useful. Definitely something that I've wished for multiple times. Done at the Blizzard level itself. You have add-ons that can do this, but of course an add-on is going to be processing it after Blizzard shares its data, whereas if Blizzard does it on their end, it's just a lot quicker because we're not pulling data for all the expansions and then filtering it on the client end. It doesn't seem to be working just yet, but at least we have it on there, which is nice. All right, let's list a public order for this. Again, I'm guessing this is a placeholder. All right, we've put out an order for the blue one. This we already have equipped, so we don't need to order that. Artisan's Tailor Cloak. This we should be able to unlock, but let's place an order since we haven't unlocked. Yeah. Oh. No, we don't want the Artisan's one. What are we doing here? We want... Strangely enough, it doesn't seem to be showing up here. Let's try taking off that filter. I wonder if it's just not set up correctly. Did we place an order for this? No. We need a needle set as well for blacksmithing. Let's place an order for this as well, in case no one has unlocked it. What else? I think all these are the Dragonflight ones still showing up. So strangely enough, we don't seem to be able to place an order for the blue versions of these. Let's see if it shows up under here. Yeah, have we placed an order for that yet? Is this... The order system may just not be working because it's not showing the orders that I've placed unless they were instantly filled. Let's go check our mailbox and see if we received anything there. Oh, we got a map rolled to the right key as well, because otherwise I'm just going to keep clicking on. I'm just going to keep hitting shift when it's not going to do anything. Okay, so for some reason it looks like the crafting order system is actually down, which is not great because I did want to play around with some of the equipment as well. But okay, coming back to tailoring here, there's nothing else left on the trainer for us to learn. Let's see if this person has anything interesting for us. I think this vendor just sells sparks and acuity as well. Let's pick up an ultimate Gnomish army knife. This, by the way, if you're not selling them on retail, this is one of the few evergreen items in World of Warcraft where they released it in Warlords of Draenor. So if you've played on an engineer at all, you probably have this unlocked. I don't think it should take too long to unlock, but I may do a short video if you guys are interested. Let me know in the chat or in the comments if you guys want me to put together a quick little video on how to unlock this. But this is extremely powerful and relies on it's definitely a very easy way to make some passive gold that is always going to be relevant. I think Blizzard shot themselves in the foot a bit by having that description of includes every profession tool. And I do wonder if they regret having done that. But it is what it is. We can also buy any other items that we need from here. So let's see how we're going with the crafting. Missives, that was the word I was forgetting earlier on. Yeah, so missives are the things that make a decent amount of gold for scribes as well, right? Just some rolling gold that comes in and out as needed. Interestingly enough, it doesn't seem that we can buy anything to unravel on here, which is kind of annoying. but maybe that's intentional, and we can just see what we're doing, because the vendor will definitely be of a lot of use when we're toying around with cooking. And I haven't checked it just yet. Let's quickly learn cooking, just because I'm really, really, really hoping that they've added a talent tree for cooking. Um, but I may be disappointed there. Let's train cooking. No, looks like they haven't done it. I'm really, really hopeful that that's just because it's beta, and that they add a cooking uh, skill tree. I think that would be a lot of fun. You know, you can have different types of food. You specialize into different types of you specialize into feasts, or you specialize into meat dishes. You specialize into fish. There's so many different things you can do. You specialize into different stats. I feel like a talent tree for cooking would be just so much fun, and also make the profession a lot more interesting, and you know, um, actually make me learn cooking on alts, so that I can toy around with different builds and things like that. So if anyone from Blizzard ever sees this on these off chance, I really hope they add that. Ooh, okay, so we do have spools of weaver thread. Let's pick up 1,000 of these, and let's see if we can unravel them. I just want to see what unraveling looks like. I guess not. Um, we could probably hit up the auction house and see if anyone's listed any of that. Fresh leather and hides. I wonder if this guy has shredded weaver cloth. I think that is one of the things we can unravel. Yep. Okay, so let's pick up 1,000 of these instead. And it looks like we've got all of these different spools here, which is the outcome of unraveling these things. Shredded weaver cloth, dawn weave, and dusk weave scraps. Okay, so I think some of the dawn and dusk weave we will actually gather from mobs in the world as well. I guess we can look at that in a second. Ooh, there's an epic item from skinning, I guess. So that should be interesting to see how those get priced. Oh, turns out I'm mistaken. We can't, even the shredded weaver cloth, we can't unravel. All right. Is there anyone else here that has anything interesting for us? Geologist and rock collector, meh. Master botanist, extravagant equipment enhancements. What are these? Ooh, these guys probably have an enchant for our tool. We don't have a tool just yet, but if our crafting orders did in fact go through, since it did take the gold out of our inventory, so I'm hoping it's just a glitch in the system, we can probably pick up some enchants for our tool. Resourcefulness. I see finesse, deafness, and perception on here. Ingenuity is probably going to be the one that we're going to want to enchant onto our tools, so we'll pick up some of those in any case. It doesn't look like there's a multi-craft enchant now either. I wonder if they could have added gem sockets into some of this gear. I feel like that could have been a cool little thing as well, but I guess they haven't. And also, since we're on here, one of the really interesting gems that I saw earlier was plus 20% perceived fame and fortune per unique algorithm gem color socketed. I don't know what that does, but I'm very interested in finding out. In any case, we'll look at those more when we're doing our jewel crafting. Now let's come over to our tailoring specializations. So we've got 4 specs here, and I think probably the way it's going to work is that you unlock the first one at 25, you unlock the second one at 50, and then we unlock the third one at 75, and the fourth one at 100 skill. So that means with the 50 skill points that we picked up just at the trainer, we can already unlock 2 of these. And let's just go through each of the trees quickly, and then we can start looking at the actual trees. So the first one is Threads of Devotion, specialized in crafting a broad range of equipment necessary for your adventures in Kazalgar. I'm guessing this is probably the gear spec. And if we just take a quick look, yep, this is the gear spec. So specialized in consecrate weaver cloth into powerful consecrated equipment. Ascend your consecrated equipment to higher item level. Gain additional skill when crafting consecrated equipment. Add optional and finishing reagents to further empower consecrated equipment. So this is our gear crafting tree. From dawn until dusk, specialize in the energy imbued in threads around Kazalgar to make powerful cloth gear and reagent items. Learn recipes centered on the magical consistency of dawn's light and dusk's shadow. Craft unique optional reagents used by all sorts of adventurers. Craft duskweave and dawnweave bolts more frequently each day. Imbue dawnweave and duskweave threads into powerful set bonus equipment. So this is the equivalent of the, I think it was Azure Weave and Chronocloth was the Dragonflight equivalent. So this is sort of that tree that allows us to create these you know uh, uh, the rarer cloths and craft gear with them primarily through the crafting order system. Here the thing that we're going to be most interested in outside, since we're not focusing too much on crafting orders, is going to be on crafting the actual cloths and using the cooldowns. For the alt army, that'll be really powerful. Quality cloth. Specialize in the techniques necessary to become an expert at unraveling various pieces of cloth, weaving that cloth into bolts, and embroidering various items. Craft powerful spell threads used by all kinds of adventurers. Powerful for the auction. It's going to be powerful for the auction house. Perfect your ability to unravel and weave the highest quality cloth. That it should be some good, passive AFK gold. Become an expert in embroidering quality finishing reagents used in various crafts. That again should help us sell things on the auction house. Improve the quality of the materials you use and perfect your tailoring empire. Like that, we're definitely going to want an alt that just does this. So we may even need a fourth or a fifth alt that just outputs reagents, right? That was something that was very powerful in Dragonflight to have. Having an alt that focuses on just creating very high quality reagents, and we use that alt just to craft reagents to send over to our other crafters that craft the more high level equipment out of it. Efficient threading. Improve the fundamentals of tailoring and become more efficient in crafting all kinds of tailoring goods. Increase the amount of cloth you find across Kazalgar. Increase the effectiveness of ingenuity for all recipes. And the same for resourcefulness and multicraft. So this is the generic tailoring tree, and this, similar to the one that we had in Dragonflight, right? Every profession had one of these trees, except for, I believe, engineering, where it just makes you better at being an overall tailor. And so probably for each of the alts that we have, what we're going to want to do is take this tree along with others. Now the question will be, of course, do we take this tree first on all of them? The nice thing is it looks like we can get to 50 and unlock 2 trees directly from the trainer itself. So what I'm seeing will probably be the best path for us to go is that we, for each of the tailoring alts that we have, we take them to the trainer, we invest, we send them enough mats, and we can prepare that list ahead of time, so that we know what we're shopping for on the auction house. And we pick up all of those items and we send them over to that character, and then we just park them at a trainer, unlock and just start leveling, and just through their own tailoring, they can get to 55 skill with 20 multicraft, 30 ingenuity, and 23 Kazalgar knowledge points, which should be pretty powerful in and of itself. That's probably enough to make a bit of a dent into each of these trees. And then for one of the alts, we take efficient threading and threads of devotion. For a second alt, we do from dusk until dawn, and for a third alt, we do quality cloth. And so this is our reagent focused alt, takes efficient threading and quality cloth. Our our dawn dusk focused alts take efficient threading and dawn until dusk, and our threads of devotion alt that's focused on gear, churning out gear, primarily the PvP gear, but also doing crafting orders and that sort of thing, will take these 2. All right, let's look at the individual trees. I think I'm going to start and actually go backwards, because this is probably the order in which we would want to do each of these things. So efficient threading, we're probably going to want to take on all of our alts, and the first node that we have in here is improve at your tailoring crafts and learn to collect cloth from humanoids more effectively, gaining an increased chance for all cloth to drop in Kazalgar by 1% per point in this specialization. And right away we are able to learn a sub-specialization, which is kind of nice. The tree itself just gives you 1% chance per cloth drop. And this is really going to be really powerful if you plan on doing a bunch of cloth farms on that character. Early on in the expansion, we may actually do that because mats are just going to be priced so ridiculously that we may actually farm some of our own mats. Shocking for a goblin like me to say that, but yeah, we may actually do that. Um, for the individual subnodes, I think it basically just is increasing, right, the percentage drop chance. Of course, maxed out, this can be extremely powerful, um, but I realistically, this is going to gradually get less and less useful because we're going to want to spend less time farming mats. Of course, if you don't have as much gold, I would say this is where you want to go first on your tailor. You know, try and let's see what the other nodes have to offer, but this is probably your best bang for your buck if you're planning on farming a bunch early on in the expansion to get a bunch of startup capital. Each of these nodes, let's look through now. So perfect loop, focus on the threading uh, on looks like the grammar is a little bit messed up, but focus on threading the perfect loop, increasing ingenuity by +1 ingenuity per point in the specialization. Ingenuity refunds 10% additional concentration when crafting cloth goods. Okay, so this is the ingenuity tree, and seeing as how this is sort of the replacement for inspiration, we may reach a point, we may find out that this is actually the most powerful tree and that we want to max this out on all of our characters to maximize the benefits that we get from ingenuity. It looks like some of them give you a percentage of refund, and some of them just give you straight ingenuity points. So this would be, you know, 1 additional percent ingenuity. This would be 1.5%. This would be another 2.5%, and here ingenuity would just refund more. You're also getting +1 ingenuity on each of these points, and so this could give you another 30 ingenuity. So overall, you could get another probably about 10% additional ingenuity from here, which could be really powerful. We need to see how ingenuity is tuned and how much of a bottleneck concentration really can be. But this is probably going to be fairly powerful, and we're probably going to want to invest pretty heavily in here. The next one is on resourcefulness. Here, this is probably going to be something that we fill out later on once we've sort of gotten everything else that we want to. But you know, before we focus on things that we don't really care about as much. So less of a priority. Less is more multi-craft. So this we're definitely going to want to do on the characters that are doing quality cloth and from dawn until dusk. But for threads of devotion, for the gear crafting characters, this is going to be the last thing we focus on. Realistically, I think we probably don't invest too many points in here. On the quality cloth and the dawn until dusk characters, this is probably we'll take a look at each of those trees to see if there's anything there, but probably multi-craft is where we're going to invest very heavily, especially because just unlocking this node, multi-craft grants up to 25% additional goods when crafting tailoring patterns. That is huge, right? Think about that. Each craft is now 25% better results. That is a huge advantage. And similarly, I think this should give us about probably another 10% multi-craft, which is, I mean, we're making 10% more of the goods without spending any additional mats. Insanely powerful. Yeah, I think that's going to be really powerful. We're probably going to want to take this. That said, let's move over to quality cloth. So this is going to be our reagent crafter, right? We're going to want to take this on our tailoring alt that we're focused entirely on crafting reagents for. And that character is just going to be our like processing facility, sort of our factory, our like intermediary factory where we take the goods that we buy and and just use them to churn out materials for the rest of our alts to craft really high-end goods with that we actually put on the auction house. And heck, we'll probably also sell a bunch of reagents, right? There's going to be a lot of other tailors out there, a lot of other players who just have, you know, a single tailor and so don't have the alt army and so have specialized in other things, but still want to buy really high quality mats. Um, and let's sorry guys, give me 1 second. Just want to make sure everyone can see my camera. And if you guys are watching on the live stream, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're enjoying the content, let me know. Drop me a chat. I'm happy to answer any questions. We're tinkering around with tailoring on the beta. We went through all of the different items we can craft so far. Tailoring does seem to be a little bit undercooked right now, is what we've learned so far, because dang near everything has the exact same crafting mats, which we know can't be correct. But all the same, I think it's worth looking at the trees and sort of getting a base level understanding of what's going on with tailoring. Um, so if you're enjoying the stream, if you're enjoying the video, if you're watching this later on, um, feel free to drop a comment, drop a like, drop a subscribe if you feel the content's worth it. Yeah, let me know. Let me know how you guys are feeling about everything that I'm doing, or if you guys are enjoying what I'm saying on each of these things. All right. So coming over to the quality cloth tree. So this is the reagent tree that we're going to look at. This we're going to need to focus on for our alt that is going to be focused on creating mats for the other characters to use. Quality cloth itself. Improve in the more specialized aspects of tailoring, including the creation of various reagents and specialty items. Gain +1 skill per point in the specialization. So this is just a direct +1 skill per point that we dump into this, into making us better at making reagents and specialty items. We didn't see any toys or anything like that. I don't know if those will fall under this group as well, but I guess we'll find out once they add those into the game. On learning this specialization, gain +5 ingenuity when crafting specialty items and reagents, and learn a subspecialization of your choice. Okay, so we don't need to unlock these specializations for this. So gain 5 ingenuity, gain 5 skill, +5 ingenuity, skill, ingenuity, skill, ingenuity, and then learn to craft the severed satchel and use finishing reagents to improve your specialty item crafts. I believe the severed satchel is the tailoring bag. Let's double check that real quick. Yeah, this is the increases the yield of Kaz Algar unraveling by 1. Like we said when we were looking through all the items, this sounds a little bit underpowered in all honesty, but all the same, I'm sure there's going to be tailors out there who want to buy it from us. So maxing out this tree may be worth it, and presumably that item also gives us skill points, hopefully until a lot higher. We'll have to see what the reagent costs are. These are BOE, so we can just craft a bunch of these and throw them up on the auction house for early gold. But I don't know how many points. I don't know if this is going to be where we want to dump our first 30 points, let's say. Let's look at additional embroidery. That's the first subnode that we can learn basically the second we learn the specialization, if we so choose. Become an expert at crafting optional threads used in completing the best crafts. Gain +1 skill per point in the specialization. Learn to craft preserving embroidery thread. Okay, so I guess we figured out where we get that embroidery thread from. These are the optional reagents. I feel early on these will probably not be super powerful at launch, because probably the cost of mats for preserving to craft these will be pretty high, and so I don't know if a lot of people are going to be dumping a bunch of cash into buying these. But there, at some point, there will be gold to be made, and if no one else on your server, or no one else, if not too many other people are doing it in the region, there's going to be gold, and that's sort of one thing to keep in mind with everything I'm saying, is that although there is going to be certain things that definitely outperform other specializations and things, there will always be gold in going off the beaten path. That's just how these profession talent trees work, right? So while I'm going to give my thoughts on all of this, there's definitely a lot that you can sort of figure out yourself as well. That when I say figure out yourself, I mean there's definitely going to be a lot of opportunities in different places that are just going to be underserved, right? Like, not enough people are doing them because they're all following whatever content creators and whatever Reddit tells them the meta is. So there is definitely gold to be made by going off on your own path as well. In any case, so this would be preserving embroidery thread. I think this just gives you skill in the embroidery threads itself, which hopefully means you use less concentration and so forth. but probably isn't going to be the path that I go down unless I really have a bunch of extra alts. It seems pretty powerful. You get the Weaver Cloth embroidery thread down the line as well. Um, I don't even see Weaver Cloth embroidery thread in here. So, like I said, um, strangely enough, we already have this unlocked from the trainer, I think. But supposedly that's the reward for reaching here, so that may just be a bug. Gain plus 5 skill and 20 multicraft, always good. Skill, multicraft, and multicraft yields 10% more quests as well. I mean, could be powerful, but definitely not my first choice. Spell thread, this could be interesting. Um, Especially once people start getting gear, they're going to want to start throwing spell threads onto things. So I'm happy to see that these spell threads, and maybe these are just the green spell threads and not the, or the blue ones and not the, not the better ones. Weaver Cloud spell thread. Okay, yeah. So this is the blue one, and I think this is basically going to be, everyone's going to need this early game. There's going to be a lot of money to be made here. This could be a very solid contender, right? The spell threads, everyone's going to want to throw them on their gear, and 104 intelligence is, or intellect rather, is 204 intellect is going to be very powerful, especially early on. When people are trying to gear up for the first time, I'm sure these will be worth quite a bit, and having skill here will definitely net you a good amount of gold, I feel. The node itself gives you more skill per point in the special, for crafting spell threads, and then the nodes seem to give you more of that as well as skill and ingenuity. This is a very solid contender for my for my uh, for my cloth for my reagent alt. Um, but let's see what the last one is. So the final node is weaving and unraveling. Become an expert at unraveling cloth into spells of various threads. Gain +1 skill. So you get resourcefulness and skill throughout the entirety of the node. So yeah, this tree's a little bit, dare I say it, a little bit boring in all honesty. But I think probably we're gonna have a spell thread alt, is what's appealing to me the most out of this thread. I think the alt that we put through quality cloth is going to be a spell thread alt. I think I definitely need to level up one of those, and I should probably start making a list of all of the alts that I plan on having for each profession, um, just so I can estimate how many I need to level up through Miss Pandaria Remix. Um, but overall, I think pretty solid tree, and I think it does justify having an alt dedicated to just this tree as well as the full tree here. Um, it is kind of strange that there isn't it seems like they've gotten rid of a generic tree that just gives you skill and tailoring across everything, which may be a good thing because that means we don't need to waste a bunch of knowledge points on something that doesn't really feel all that rewarding, right? That doesn't feel as customized. It just feels like you have to do it. So I do kind of like that it gives you a little bit more player agency, right? The knowledge points are more meaningful. Um, each of the points you spend. All right, let's move on from dawn until dusk. This is the spell thread. This is the specialist class that we make on a cooldown. Um, and any extra tailoring alts that we have will probably take this tree first to unlock the cooldown. So by learning this, we get um, 1 additional skill point in crafting both of the cloths, and that may be what we choose to do. +5 skill, +5 ingenuity. Dawnweave reagent bag, and is that the green bag? Nope, that's the blue 40 slot reagent bag. So it looks like this will probably have pretty high mat requirements, but could be a popular item for people who want to pick up the best reagent bag right at the jump. And I think it is also BOE. Yep. So we can craft a bunch of those and throw them on the auction house as well. +5 skill and ingenuity. Duskweave bag, which is that our blue bag? Yep, that's our blue. Yeah, so this is what I was saying. This is what seems odd to me, that we unlocked the 40 slot reagent bag. That's Dawnweave before we unlocked the 38 slot reagent bag. Definitely seems a little bit undercooked, but or sorry, this is Duskweave bag, not the Duskweave reagent bag. My mistake. Yeah, I think this is supposed to just be a non-reagent bag, since it doesn't have reagent title. I think they probably just tagged this wrong as a 38 slot reagent bag. skill and ingenuity, and then you learn the second sub-specialization. So we would need to actually max this out to be able to craft both cloths, which means we probably need two alts here. One that specially goes down the Dawnweave path, and one that goes down the Duskweave path. Kind of annoying, yes, but we'll see how each of these nodes compare. I'm guessing these should be mirrors of each. It's just one is focused on the healer gear, one is focused on the DPS gear. Dawnweave Tailoring. Unravel thread imbued with Dawn's light in your tailoring, gaining +1 skill, crafting skill per point in the special element when making using Dawnweave. Learn to find scraps of Dawnweave from humanoids around Kazalgar and how to craft Dawnweave bolts. So this is how we unlock the cooldown, right? The cooldown in which we're going to be able to craft either the Dawnweave or the Duskweave bolts. And presumably by investing further into this, we'll unlock more cooldown. So +10 ingenuity when making and doing this. We unlock the gear. You unlock the sub-specialization that we'll look at in a second. Skill and ingenuity, and then learn the second item here. So probably what we're going to want to do is unlock this tree, and I think we may actually want to probably unlock, start the second we unlock the sub-specialization. So we'll probably dump, 15 points into here, and then we'll want to unlock this as soon as possible. Further improve your connection with Dawnweave, decreasing how quickly you exhaust the magic used to craft Dawnweave bolts. So this is probably when we get to now start crafting 20 of these a day as opposed to just one. And so for these alts that we're building just to churn out cooldown cloths, we're probably going to take efficient threading, just so that we can pick up one of these. I don't think yeah, we're probably going to want to take ingenuity right away, and then we're probably going to want to dump all of our points directly into this tree. We're not even going to bother here first. We're going to start here, get 15 points in here, and unlock this tree so that we have maximum cooldowns. And look, just doing the tailoring recipes, we got to 23. And probably flying around and looting the different items, skywriting around, looting the different items should give us enough knowledge points to be able to unlock both this cooldown as well as, max out the cooldown for this. Because just by unlocking it, we unlock, I think this probably takes us to 15 cooldowns at a time. 10 multi-craft, and then probably our next 20 points go in here, and this is probably where we unlock 20 of these crafts, and we'll tinker around with it once we unlock it. This should probably be much the same, just for damage dealing classes instead. And ideally, of course, we'd want to unlock both trees, but that's going to take quite the investment, because ideally we would want to max this out, after which we'd probably want to dump the rest of the points into this just to unlock the final item there. Then we'd dump 30 points into this, and then that's assuming we don't want to invest anything into efficient threading yet. After which we would start coming down this tree, because we can only unlock this second one once we've maxed this out. All right, and then lastly, let's come to Threads of Devotion. So this will be our gear crafting character, and we'll see what we want to do here. The main thing we're going to probably use this character for is to craft a bunch of this blue leveling gear that's going to sell extremely well. It did in Dragonflight. It has in literally every single expansion, right? Because some of these items you can only unlock at 80, but you can only use at 80, I think, all these perfected ones. But the remaining pieces you can, equip at 71. Generally, some of them require some. Usually they unlock as you go. So in Dragonflight, I think it was like you unlocked one at 61, and then one at like 65, and one at 67, and then some of them at 70. But these are going to be, right, you're coming straight out of Pandaria with whatever eye level you have, and you can just hit the auction house and buy a eye level 521, or at its highest level, eye level 528 gear, right? So we want to be able to craft these at max skill as soon as possible, ideally. And the way we're going to do that is by investing here into Threads of Devotion. The other thing we're going to need it for is also for the PvP gear is going to be the bulk of it. And then if we happen to, stumble upon some of these, some crafting orders for the spark gear, well and good, but I still am skeptical of how powerful the crafting order system is going to be for gold making, at least in bulk, unless you're on a small enough server that you can sort of corner the market or become very well known for crafting one of these specific items because you've maxed everything out early on, and you can guarantee or sell a bunch of guaranteed highest eye level um, BOP items. All right, but let's look at the tree itself. So threads of devotion. Devote your tailoring knowledge towards cloth armor to take on the most powerful foes in Khazal-Garg Lane, +1 skill per point in this specialization. So like I said, this is probably where we're going to dump the majority of our points, both to increase our skill level in crafting the gear so that we can guarantee rank 5 as soon as possible, because very quickly the market um, for the leveling gear here is going to move away from anyone buying the eye level 515 gear, and everyone's going to expect it to be 528, right? Because you're basically using the same mats, more or less. Um, Learn a sub-specialization. So 5 points in, we get a sub-specialization. We'll look through those. They should be fairly similar. I don't think we need to go through each and every single item, but we'll go down 1 or 2 of them just to see what they offer. Gain +5 ingenuity. Learn a second specialization, resourcefulness, skill and ingenuity. All right, let's look at what these individual trees give us. So here, by learning this, we get to use optional reagents to specify the secondary stats. This will be powerful in some ways. Generally, when I'm crafting leveling gear or PvP gear, which is the bulk of what I intend to do on that character, I don't really bother using missives because it just seems like a bit of an added cost without much of a benefit. And generally, there's someone or the other will want each combination, right? If it rolls versatility crit, some of them will sell faster, some of them will sell slower. In an ideal world, you'd price them differently, right? Because some stat combos are just generally more in demand and are more popular for multiple characters. Um, but in my experience, you always have someone who just comes and dumps all of their items at like all the different stat combinations at the same price on the auction house, and so it's just a matter of sell rates. Where, let's say for like a leather crit and versatility piece, those sell out first, and you're left with you may need to relist the like haste mastery pieces. But then there's probably another class that needs that as well, right? So I generally don't bother too much. So this unlocking this doesn't really do too much for us, but this will give you additional skill. And here you'll probably what I tended to do in Dragonflight was it really depended on which PvP recipes I picked up or which items were selling the most for me. In all honesty, I think this is probably the tree we go down first. The reason being is because it allows us to craft 4 different pieces with a lot more skill. But the other important thing to remember about tailoring is that tailoring is also the only crafting profession that crafts back pieces, so cloaks, right? And literally everyone who's a PvPer needs to buy a cloak from a tailor. Everyone who's a PvPer and anyone who's planning on using up their sparks for a cloak, the only person you can buy it from is a tailor, right? The leveling gear, again, there's no what do you call it, gear type on cloaks, but they're crafted by tailors. So realistically, on our gear crafted, this is probably the tree we go down first, and then after that, we're probably going to go into cloaks and try and unlock this consecrated cloth. I think potentially we dump our first 30 points in here, or do some combination of some points here to unlock the sub-specialization. Probably we probably take it up till here, and then we decide, or well, that would be your second sub-specialization, unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, you get your first at 5 and your second at 10. But then we would probably want to dump more points into here because it's the broadest. Hey guys, sorry, looks like we had a bit of an internet issue, and the stream dropped for a second, and I got logged out of WoW as well. So let's just log back in here real quick. And let me finish what I was saying. But yeah, I think this character is also very interesting because this character we can really push skill levels on, right? Oh, it didn't save our interface changes because we didn't reload the interface. It's just our action bars back up. Okay. All right. So on this character, we dumped our 30 points in here, which actually unlock 2 items that are of use to us. Firstly, we unlocked a spell thread. I'm not sure where we unlocked that from, but we unlocked the Weaver Cloth spell thread. Did this give it to us? Did we unlock it somewhere along the way here? I don't think so. I do not think so. But all the same, um, so the first 30 points go in here. If you get to 50 skill, you can unlock this, and you know, just take the multi-craft bonus abilities you get there. By maxing this out to 30, we unlock these 2. One of these unlocks gave us the ability to craft that spell thread. I think this is what gave us the spell thread, and this is what gave us the bag at the end. In either case, this will unlock this spell thread, and this at level 80. Not fresh characters at 80, but definitely characters who are starting to go through their mythic dungeons, starting to gear up a bit. This is going to be the item that they're going to be putting onto their gear, right? And so, what you're gonna want to have them do is, you're gonna want to be able to craft this as soon as possible. And this is also a yellow item, so you'll invest less in crafting these. These only go up to a quality 3, so early on you probably don't want to use up your concentration because 148 concentration is gonna be a lot. But let's say let's do the simulation, and let's say we have 50 points the first week, right? So we dump 20 more points into here. Now, that allows us to only need 66 concentration um, to guarantee 3 stars on this. Of course, that's also because we're using high. We only have the high. Sorry, guys. It looks like we had another disconnect. Not sure what's going on. If this happens again, we may need to end the stream here for now and continue on Wednesday's stream. And so. In case you guys may not have noticed, I have updated my streaming schedule, and so I'm going to be doing Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at least. At It's 12 p.m. my time, but so basically whenever this stream started in your local time, so it's 3 p.m. now, so about 3 hours before when this stream went live is when I'm going to be live on Twitch and on YouTube. And so please do come watch me live if you can, and drop me a chat message if you're watching live, and if you're enjoying the content. And if you're not watching live, let me know in the comments if you think this content is adding any value whatsoever, or is giving you any clarity on the beta and sort of what my plans are, and what maybe your plans should be. But okay, so what we're gonna do is this is gonna be the item that we're trying to sell a whole bunch of. I would say probably, let's just simulate here a bit. We don't know what the actual mats are gonna be. We'd anyways want to craft it for the first craft bonus for the knowledge points. Because the knowledge points are going to be worth their weight in gold. But it seems like this gives skill until it turned green midway through 50 and 55, which seems a bit strange to me. Because usually these things break at the like they have break points, right? Is when they stop giving skill. But then we can start crafting this profession, the tailoring profession bag, and these should also sell for a pretty penny, right? Let's equip this. It's a 38 slot bag that gives you additional skill in. Why can we not equip this? Is it just bugged? Is that the issue? Okay, I get that it's gonna get binded to me. Maybe if we unequip this first and then we equip this, does that work? Okay, so it's just bugged in any case, but yeah, very strange. Very, very strange. In any case, so I mean, yeah, this character is mainly basically gonna focus on crafting these bags and crafting those items. Interestingly, we don't have a bag tree anywhere in here. So a couple things that I've noticed that they've taken out is like a dedicated profession tools tree. I think probably that makes sense. Most of the profession tools that we're profession accessories rather that we're crafting as a tailor should fall under the gear category in any case, right? It is gear, it's just profession gear. So that kind of makes sense. On bags, I am a little bit surprised that we don't see anything for bags. I'm guessing maximizing this tree is probably where we get the most skill for bags. Though with bags, there's not really a skill thing, it's just the resourcefulness that really makes a difference. And so I guess probably it may be our gear crafter in that case that also becomes our bag crafter. I don't know. I think I'd need to stimulate. I think I'd need to simulate what I want to do there. But it's looking like tailoring is pretty juicy. In any case, so I mean, this character, the first 50 points we dump in here. You know, the next 10 points we get, we dump into spell threads as well. I think that should unlock another spell thread for us, although I'm not 100. I guess not, but it could just be a bug thing. These two spell threads we don't know the source of. I thought it did say that that we get it through uh, that we get it through, what do you call it, through this tree, or at least that is how we should get it. But essentially, we're then just able to craft out a lot of these consumables and you know enter a high volume business. And early on, the margins should still be there. Um, but yeah. That said, I don't think we're gonna bother going through the from dawn until dusk tree. Uh, or you know what? Let's just quickly knock that out because I do want to see if the cooldowns sort of make sense, and we have the knowledge points to do it in any case. Um, Although I don't think this is gonna get us quite to 70 to 60 skill points, which is kind of annoying. Um, do any of these unlock any other recipes for us that we can use to sort of just get ourselves to max level real quick? Just because I want to see what happens if we have you know, everything unlocked. Because I don't even think we have anything here that we can throw a spark into, which is just some beta magic to. Oh, it's unique. They're unique equipped, so we can only have 2 of them in our bags, and so we can't even use them to skill up really. Ooh, okay, that may make it a bit more annoying to sell these because I guess each character can only hold 2. I don't get why it's throwing this error for me. I think it's just probably the way that uniques are set up, that you can't have more than 2 in your bags at once. But simple enough, just mail it to an alt or throw it on the auction house, and you can keep crafting them that way. That sort of means that we're out of usefulness on this character because we don't really have anything else that we can learn. Um, let's just so that we're fairly comprehensively covered. Let's just do this character. This isn't really what we're gonna do, but like this, it doesn't really mimic our live characters. But I do want to exhaust, like I do want to show on this stream what I think initially my 3 main tailors are going to be doing. Um, and I want to toy around a bit with the dusk weave, dawn and dusk crafting tree, crafting talent tree rather. All right, we have to buy the tailoring item, the tailoring satchel from this guy. Tailoring satchel. It's interesting that jewel crafting has all these recipes available from here. I don't know what the plan is for how we're supposed to acquire those, but tailoring, unless I'm missing something, maybe I need to go back and check on one of those maxed out tailors. Although we're going to be getting this character to the same level of tailoring as those characters are on. Oh, we're looking at jewel crafting. All right, let's throw tailoring on here, and we're just going to craft like 90 of these and see if that gets us to the eye level that we to the skill level that we need. We can buy the casual tailoring knowledge point item. Do we have our reagent bag? Yep, we do. And what else do we need? We don't need anything else from this guy, I don't think. All right, let's just wait for this to max out. Then we use our knowledge points item, and then we simulate what the third tailor that we are taking into the war within is going to do. All right, we're at 25, so we can unlock the Dawn Until Dusk talent tree, and that's what we're going to want to do first. I think that's what we're realizing, is that efficient threading is a luxury, but probably not one we can afford to get early on. And so here, it's really going to depend on the economics, right? Early on, it may just be best to dump your first 30 knowledge points directly into this center tree and just unlock both the cooldowns, because that may be actually the best thing to do, and that may be our main takeaway, is actually diversifying the risk a little bit, at least for the first week, until, you know, I think it'll depend as well if people get their sparks the first week, because I don't know if anyone's going to be needing Dawnweave or Duskweave tailoring in week 1. So this may be the last of the tailoring alts that we take into the war within. The first being the gear one, so that we can start selling that leveling gear. The second being the spell thread one, so we can start selling things to people who are running, you know, dungeons week 1, or at least putting that into place. Because also this quality cloth one is going to be the one who's doing all of our reagents. And then the last one is going to be this character here, and so we're going to put 30 points in there. And I don't think we're going to bother with doing all the first craft bonuses. What did we unlock by doing this? We unlocked the we unlocked Dawnweave and the Duskweave cooldowns. We unlocked the Dawnweave reagent bag, the Duskweave bag, and the second specialization. So yeah, so this is going to be our bag craft. Well, this may be our bag crafter to begin with. We don't have resourcefulness on here. And I think we have hit 50 skill already. Yeah, we have hit 50 skill, and we don't have... Ooh, we forgot to equip, rather, the tailoring gear that we can craft for ourselves. The accessory. Let's just power through and learn all these real quick. Yeah, that's the one we need. This thing. Where'd it go? Tailor's coat. Let's craft that and equip that, because that's exactly what we're going to do on live. And, alright. Yeah, so let's say 30 points. Let's just go with 30 points, and let's just assume that's all we have. We can now do our Duskweave Bolt cooldown. It's going to be at craft quality. And we would need 42 so we could exhaust our concentration literally just burning out our cooldowns on either of these. Ideally, of course, 30 points. Realistically, we may have another like 5 or 10, because I think I want to say with the treasures and probably some other first craft bonuses and stuff, we should have about 50. Let's go evenly into each of these. And so now not only can we craft the cloths, but we also have something we can craft out of them for crafting orders if we should arrive at that. But I want to see how much being able to craft those bags allow us to push into past 50. So let's do all of our cooldowns for Dawnweave, for instance, right? And we get the first craft bonus there. Of course, because inspiration no longer exists, where there's no chance of us crafting anything but rank 1. We can start using concentration. Let's try doing the last 3 with concentration, because that's probably closer to what we're actually going to do on live. I don't know if we start with max concentration, or if a fresh, like if a character just taken into the War Within starts with 0 concentration and needs to start building it up as we go. I don't know if there's going to be items, you know, as we level up the profession that maybe give us some concentration, or if there's going to be some sort of, I don't know. It could be cool if there are like lootable nodes or something, you know, that you so you can actively farm concentration as well. Of course, my approach is just going to be having a boatload of alts so that I can exhaust each of their concentrations up as needed to max them out, and they'll be more or less efficient. Now the Duskweave bag. Again, these mats seem completely janky, but let's see what level they give us skill until. Because if this takes us to 75, that could be of a lot of value actually. If it stays orange that far in. And let's unlock the specialization here. And what did we say? This is our, yeah, here as well we want to take multi-craft, right? Because we want to be able have our to have our Duskweave and Dawnweave bolts multi-craft as much as possible. Yeah, with the cooldowns, that's definitely going to be the most important stat for us. I do kind of wish I have a character on which I just max resourcefulness, because that's the main thing that matters for bags. It is kind of annoying that you can't multi-craft bags. I can understand for these higher end bags, it's just too RNG dependent, but for these weaver cloth bags, like the entry level bags, I mean, come on, Blizzard. Surely you can give us a multi-craft on those, right? Like they're cheap as heck to make. I mean, in Dragonflight, I don't think they ever cost more than like 15 gold or no. Early on, I think they were a couple hundred gold, but either way, it's not a huge thing, and it just makes it a little bit more fun. Adds a little bit more RNG. I mean, far be it from me to otherwise ask for RNG, but for more RNG, but I feel like that would still add a bit of an element of fun. All right, let's dump another 5 points in here, and that may actually, depending on if early on it's showing, it's becoming very clear that either dawn weaving, what is it, dawn weave cloth or dusk weave cloth are more valuable, then I would definitely put the first 15 points into that one to unlock this, and this alone should. So we saw that we used up 10 charges here, and we've got a 16-hour cooldown, right? Let's do dawn weaving first, and that should, at least what the description says, is that it allows us to, so the cooldown went from 16 hours to 11 hours on this. And I believe if we max out this tree, let's test this out. Let's throw another 20 points in here. We unlock the bracers as well. But if we throw another 20 points in here, we not only gain the multi-craft, which is amazing, but we even reduce the cooldown further. So the path would be basically we dump 30 points in here, unlock both of these cooldowns, start crafting, you know, then we have 10 of each, 10 cooldowns of each per week that we're crafting. Honestly, in the early weeks, you may want to, like week 1 or 2, you may want to wait until closer to the, well, yeah, I don't know. You may not want to, my point is you may not want to burn out all 10 cooldowns on day 1. You'd probably just want to do 1 cooldown, let that regen for the first day, let prices come down, right? Day 2 already, prices are going to be substantially lower than day 1. The first week or 2, everything is going to come down daily, right? Prices of everything is going to come down daily. So if you're a little bit patient, you can probably catch up pretty quickly. The only thing is if you've already done this and you've already unlocked this on your character, you don't want to waste a cooldown, because the cooldown is probably going to be worth more than what you're gonna save by waiting a day. But that really depends, because it gradually will become, the cooldown will become more and more profitable, because also week 1 and day 1, I don't know if you have a spark. I don't know if people are getting their sparks. I'm guessing not. I think that's what they do with the I think that's how it was for Dragonflight as well. But I guess we'll find out more as, you know, beta continues on along its way and so forth. I'm not gonna bother maxing out the rest of these specs, but because we're kind of clear on what we're doing for this character. So these are sort of the 3 archetypes, I would say. I think you should be able to unlock both of these cooldowns pretty quickly on alts. So if you're just making an alt army that you're not planning on playing that much, definitely any alts you have that have tailoring, this is going to be the build that you're gonna want to go for, where you're mainly focused on just getting to level 25 tailoring skill. Craft yourself your own tailor's coat just so you have a multi-craft and ingenuity. That should be easily enough done. And then depending on whether they change the items that are required for crafting the profession equipment, maybe pick up some profession equipment, and then you've sort of got a semi-passive source of income where once a week or a couple times a week you can log in, do all of your cooldowns on this character, and then send the finished product to your bankroll, sell them, and that's it. You're done with that character for the week, at least as far as tailoring goes. I mean, you can dink around if you have some free time and see if any crafting orders are up, or if you catch an NPC crafting order or something like that. And it's probably worth doing the profession quest on these guys on a weekly basis as well, just to get additional knowledge points so that you can hone down, and then you're going to want to max out this, whichever one of these trees is more profitable for you on your realm or on your region rather. And then after that, you'd probably want to go down into multi-craft, max this out. Then I would say probably it depends how much you're using ingenuity. If you're using up your ingenuity to guarantee max levels, then ingenuity would be a good call. And then lastly, you'd want to go through the extra threads. After which you can start exploring some of these other skill trees. But yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's the main goal. So just to quickly recap, of course, at the start of the stream, we looked through every single item that's showing up here in tailoring. We figured out that on beta, it does seem that they haven't fully fleshed out tailoring, since almost every item is showing the exact same reagents required, which can't possibly be true, right? Or if it is, it just seems incredibly broken. But there's some really, really solid items. These bags, the profession bags, seem particularly powerful. The PvP gear has been buffed, if anything. As always, the profession gear is super important. Tailoring has a whole bunch of them, and they're generally the cheapest out of any of the profession gears to craft, and you can sell them for pretty well. We have a lot of items that we can sell on the auction house. A lot of different regular bags as well, which is always a huge moneymaker for tailoring. And then we have some nice finishing reagents that we can do as well. Leveling gear, huge, amazing, every expansion, throughout the expansion. Then we also looked at some of the other input materials. We weren't able to test out unraveling because none of the vendors have that stuff available. Then we looked through each of the specialization trees, and we went through what would be the most likely path that I would recommend for your first tailor, for your second tailor, your third tailor, and so on. And just to recap, the first tailor, what we're going to want to do is go into threads of devotion, and we're going to want to max out this tree to get as much skill as we can in crafting gear. Once we've maxed this out, and actually the second we learn this more or less, once we put 5 points into here, we're going to want to unlock Weathering Wear, and we're going to want to further learn the cloak pattern, because every single armor type, every single character needs, if they need a cloak, they need to buy it from a tailor. And so that's why we want to be able to make these, we want to guarantee 5-star cloaks as soon as we can for these, right? And also, presumably, once they fix it and it's off the beta, that should also increase our skill on crafting this PvP cloak. This is an amazing item. I've done over 4 or 5 million gold in combined sales of it in each season, of like combined through all the seasons in Dragonflight, and I don't expect that to change at all. So then we're gonna unlock this. We dump the rest of our points into here. If we make it to 25 to 50 skill points, then we want to take this tree, and for the gear crafter, we want to see if we feel that we'll figure out closer to launch whether ingenuity makes sense to use or not. If we're using ingenuity a whole bunch, we'll take this, but most likely we take resourcefulness and we use that. The name of the game is keep getting as high skill as we can and keeping as low resourcefulness as we can, because we want to craft these items at maximum quality, using the fewest mats we can and maximizing our profit margins that way. And these are going to sell like hotcakes, especially in the first couple weeks, but throughout the entire expansion, really. So that's what we're going to want to do on our first character. Now, on our second character, what we're going to do is we are going to want to go down the quality cloth tree. And we're first going to dump everything into quality cloth, um, max out, or rather, sorry, let me correct myself. Yeah, we're going to want to max out quality cloth. We're going to unlock additional subspecializations. This is so the second we learn this, the second we learn quality cloth, we're going to unlock spell thread. That's going to give us our first weaver cloth spell thread item, the recipe for that. And we don't have to learn on this character because we tested that out on a different character, but it's this spell thread that gives you 204 intellect, right? Interestingly, it also doesn't seem to mention an item level requirement. So this may be literally like you enter the war within and you're able to equip it. I'm guessing that'll come at some point. So let's not focus too much on that. But we're gonna unlock the spell thread here. That will allow us to the spell thread stayed yellow or orange until I think about almost 60 skill. Or 55 or 60 skill, which was extremely powerful. But before we put points into here, we're going to max out this. We're going to max out this thing here, and as we go, we're gonna unlock the preserving embroidery thread. We can start crafting that and throwing those up on the auction house for all of our jewel crafter friends. And then we're gonna max out this tree, and we're gonna unlock the tailoring, the tailoring bag, the bag that gives you a bonus to tailoring, the epic bag that we have for that. That's 38 slot. I believe it is this one, the severed satchel. I don't love the buff on this, but most tailors are going to want to equip this. Hopefully it gives some, they add some skill points on there or something as well. But that's also going to be really, really popular, especially early on. If you're one of the first few who can craft it, it's going to be super, super powerful. I think a lot of people are going to go with the threads of devotion and focus on individual trees and becoming the best at crafting gear pieces. That's not what we care about. We're trying to make the most amount of gold that we can in launch week, and the best way to do that is through the auction house. So yeah, we're going to craft this. We're going to unlock this. Then we dump all of our points in here, and we're going to max out this tree. If we get to level 50 skill level, if we get to 50 skill level, then what we're going to do is we're going to, of course, unlock this. And for this character, where multi-craft is going to matter more. So we're going to dump things into multi-craft. We want to max out this tree as soon as we can as well. That's our second character, and that's when it's going to be focused on basically creating reagents, spell threads, and gradually, we can see if embroidery has any value. I don't particularly see much of it. If you're interested in farming, you also want to come in here first, but probably what you want to do is first max out this tree. You're going to want to dump 30 points into this, and then come over to uh, uh, you're going to want to come over to this tree, unlock this, but max out this, because you're going to want to unravel all of the cloth that you're looting off of those mobs into cloth to sell. And early on in Dragonflight, and I presume in the War Within as well, you're going to be able to make a decent amount of money just buying spools on the auction house and unraveling them. So that's another little side note for anyone who wants to maybe, you just have one tailor, you want to make a little bit of passive small gold on the side while you're AFK. That's a great source of that as well. Then for our third and onwards character, unless something changes, in the bulk of cases, we're going to want to have them first unlock this. And this is really going to be any alt that you don't plan on playing that much, you don't plan on investing that much time, and you may not even be planning on taking them to 80 anytime in the first year of the expansion, right? Those characters, we'll figure out what the knowledge point sources are, but you can get about 23 knowledge points just from the trainer as it stands right now. Like I said, this is still beta. It seems like tailoring isn't completely fleshed out in the slightest, so I'm guessing a lot more items are going to come there, and we can probably pick up a lot more knowledge points from this character right from the jump. But you can get about 23 skill points just from the first craft bonuses of all the items that you learn. On top of that, there will be treasures that you can fly around Dragonflight and that you can fly around the War Within and gather. I believe we have skywriting in every zone. I may be mistaken there. I haven't really played through the actual zones. We're probably going to do that on Wednesday's stream, or if I have the time, we may stream it sooner. But you will fly around, pick up those knowledge points, hit up the trainer, and get some bonus knowledge points from there as well. Definitely, I feel confident in saying that we can almost certainly get 30 knowledge points in our first week. Hopefully we can unlock the weekly quests as well and start doing those. I think realistically we probably get closer to 50 plus knowledge points the first week. In any case, the first 30 points we dump in here and we unlock both of these cooldowns. For both Duskweave and Dawnweave, these are the new Azure Weave and Chronocloth replacements. One of them basically helps with healing gear, one of them helps with damage doing gear, and that will unlock 10 cooldowns for each of these per week. I believe it takes 7 days to cool down. Now, once we've maxed that out, if we hit 50 skill points, we come in here, we unlock this, and then we unlock Multicraft. Multicraft is going to be super overpowered. We'll see how much ingenuity we're using. This, I honestly wouldn't prioritize this tailor for week 1. I don't even know if we have our spark the first week. I'm guessing not. I'm guessing it's probably after, from the second week onward, the characters even get their sparks. I would say this probably work on this character towards the end of week 1 once mat costs have come down a bit and it's not as costly to level up tailoring to even level 25, skill level 25 that is. All right, once we figured out maybe a week or 2 weeks in, which of these cloths is performing better for us, which one we're able to make better margins on, then we want to dump 15 points into this to unlock this sub-specialization, in which we then have a shorter cooldown. And so that just means that we can do more cooldowns in any given period. After which we want to max out this tree with 20 points in here to even further cool it down. And the difference that makes is without the specialization, it's 16 hours 31 minutes between charges. With the specialization, with the first, by just unlocking this node, it goes down to about 11 hours between each craft. And with 20 points deployed, it goes down to about 8.5 to 9 hours. Then you're just going to want to continue, dumping points in here. It remains to be seen whether you want to dump points into here post that, or if it makes more sense to just gain a whole bunch of multicraft across both of them, because any points you invest here will pay off for both this cooldown and that cooldown, right? And the cooldown you have here. So most likely the pathing you're going to want to go is through here. Max out multicraft here, then come back and grab the other one and do the exact same thing where you unlock the cooldown. You dump 15 points in here, unlock the cooldown here, and then you can finally max out this and max out that, and then start to go down other paths. Honestly, it's probably going to take a couple of weeks, if not months, to do everything we just mentioned here itself for those alt characters, especially since they're alt characters. You're not going to be playing them a whole bunch. But yeah, so overall, that's sort of a pretty long, I think, video, pretty long stream covering everything about tailoring that's available in the beta so far. If you guys have any questions, any topics that I didn't cover, any interactions or any curiosities about how different things are going to work, definitely let me know in the comments or in chat if you are watching live, and I'll be happy to do more dedicated videos to it. That said, I also do feel that some of these streams are a bit long, so I am considering potentially editing them down and making shorter videos so that it's a bit easier for you guys to become more familiar with what's going on in the beta and sort of what the current state is and what we know already, so you guys can start figuring out how many alts we need. I would say probably at bare minimum, that you're definitely going to want at least one tailor in the War Within. Is that going to be the most efficient? No, not by a long shot. Do I think you should do I think it's worth leveling additional characters to have additional tailors in the War Within? Most definitely. Watch my other streams or watch my other videos for how to super quickly level multiple level 70 character, like how to get multiple alts to level 70 in about 3 or 4 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours realistically. If you're super good, you can probably even get it down to under 2 hours. And I even show you how you can do it multi-boxing so that you're doing twice the characters at once. If you're as crazy as I am about multi-boxing and doing multiple things at once. So if you guys have any questions about any of this, let me know in the chat. I think what I'm going to personally do is probably have at least 3 tailors. If I can get a 4th one in there, well and good. If I have free profession slots on all the 70s that I'm raising, that I'm leveling up, we may throw another Tailor on there just because the cooldowns are really that powerful for gold. And probably any spare alts I have are going to probably be Tailoring Alchemists, as that is um, the that is the best combo for a character that you just want to log on once a week. You know, pull a couple 20, 30, 40, 50,000 gold out per week, and then log out, and you just log on to them, you know, once or twice a week, and blast all your cooldowns, sell everything, and or send the mats over to you know, a character that's gonna process them into even higher value items. With that said, guys, thank you so much for watching the stream. Really appreciate those of you who watched live. If you're watching this on YouTube or on the video on demand later on, thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it through all the way. Drop a like if you think I've earned it. Subscribe if you want to see more of this content. All the engagement really helps me feel like I'm adding value and doing something worth doing. And if you don't enjoy the content, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. You know, let me know if my audio is terrible, or if it's good, or if I don't know, the video quality, or I don't know. Any and all feedback is truly very much appreciated. Let me know if you guys want to see me do shorter form videos, or like, you know, closer to 10 or 15-minute videos. If you want to see trimmed down versions of this, I've started adding timestamps to these super long videos so that it's easier for you guys to navigate through them. Let me know if those are helping. Let me know if you want them to be more granular. I'm here to try and share whatever knowledge I have, and to make the time that I'm spending on the beta or in Remix experimenting with all of this stuff. I'm trying to save you guys the time that I'm spending on figuring out all of this. So the only reason I'm doing any of this is just to share what I have learned through playing the game. And since I have a little bit more time on my hand these days, I'm actually getting to do all this. And I just think back to a couple months ago where I was working a very intense job, and so only had a couple of hours to play WoW a day if I was lucky. And so I relied a lot on people who had a lot more time than me to figure out what was the most efficient way of doing things, and I'm just trying to pay that forward. So if you guys enjoy the content, let me know. And if you don't enjoy the content, also let me know. Drop a comment. Either way, like, subscribe, follow. All of it really helps. And thanks, guys. Let me know what trade skill you guys want me to cover next. I was thinking potentially leatherworking, but I think probably this was my literally complete first look at this at Tailor at a profession on the beta. I dinked around a bit with jewel crafting. And I saw some other content already out about enchanting, so I thought, you know, I've not really seen anyone do anything on tailoring yet, so let me jump in. I realized on stream actually that it's way less baked than I thought it was, so probably for our next stream I will check whatever profession we're deep diving is a little bit more built out, so that hopefully the commentary that I'm offering stays relevant a little bit longer. With that said, guys, we've been streaming for just over 3 hours, so I'm gonna give you guys a break from hearing my voice and seeing my face as well. But thank you so much to everyone who's watched live, and who's watching on YouTube or watching on the stream. Check out my other socials if you guys want to hear more from me or want to engage with me in any other way. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great day ahead, and hopefully this helps you guys plan a bit for what to do in the war within. Take care. Stay safe. Bye bye.